All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night, and that means it's time for the Sportswire Radio team, and it's a big group of us. I mean, there's so many of us, literally, I would need more than 10 fingers to count us, but we're going to start off with our guys. Of course, two of them are in our Hall of Famers. One of them is our senior wrestling analyst. He is also the host of the Hockey Fan Chat. The other one does a great job doing logo work, designs. He is also the host of the Be More Talkative podcast, which is ready to make his long-awaited return with. And these guys kind of going to talk about WrestleMania. What can we expect tomorrow? Maybe recap some things we've seen in SmackDown. Maybe talk about a couple of other things where there was actually a WWE wrestler appearing in a different company. I'll explain that more and who knows what else. But I'm joined, of course, by two of my guys, Randy Dillon and TBK, a.k.a. the Baltimore Kid. And guys, happy Friday tonight.
Tom, as Vader says, it's Tom. It's Tom. It's WrestleMania time. We are less than 24 hours. I am excited, you can tell.
Absolutely. You got the WrestleMania shirt on. TBK's fired up.
WrestleMania 32. I was live there in Dallas, Texas when they were back in 2016. So,
well, you know what? What a small world. And, you know, a lot to talk about here. Our buddy Ron Franklin, I don't know if you guys are on Instagram or not, was actually there. He was there at the early stuff going on. He was at the fan access there. He tagged me on it on Instagram. So we have people on Sportswire Radio that are actually there on site. I certainly won't ask Ron Franklin to come on because I don't think he'll be able to hear us. But guys, how are we doing tonight? And certainly we got a little bit of what's in store maybe toward the end of the show. I think we kind of maybe expected kind of a calmer, maybe a bit of things. There was certainly a big scrum between LA Knight and AJ Styles. I was like, was it real? Was it not? But guys, what did you think about some of the things we saw here tonight?
Well, I mean, like Randy said, we're finally here, man. We made it, boys. Less than 24 hours away. As much as it kills me to rock the Eagles colors behind me, I had to do it because it's WrestleMania. I mean, you know what? We've been waiting. Tomorrow's the payoff. Sunday. You know what? I was talking to somebody, and I want to get you guys' opinion real quick.
Sure, go for it.
They were saying to me, and I agree to a fault. Okay, they were saying to me that if Cody Rhodes does not deliver tomorrow, then it ruins the entirety of WrestleMania. What do you guys think about that?
He doesn't win night one or night two?
Night two. If Roman retains, pretty much.
You know, it's funny you said that because we were speaking on Wednesday's show, and obviously there's a well-known wrestler, you know, Jack Delta in the backyard, and his theory was that what if Cody wins and then he gets cashed on, presumably by Damian Priest? Oof. I mean, which is, you know, that was kind of his theory to continue Cody chasing this story. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think that everybody that has an opinion, everybody that has a podcast, we have a bunch of podcasts, obviously, on our sportswireradio.org website where people can listen to our internet shows. And, you know, a couple of the different shows that we have even talked about the theory, quote unquote, that could Roman Reigns still retain? Randy was saying on Wednesday's show, not going to happen this time. It's not going to happen. Everything else is, you know, but you can never say never in this world.
TBK, I'm going to take a page out of your book because I honestly think if Cody doesn't win, there's going to be literal riot. Tom and I know how crazy this Philadelphia fan base is. Going back to the Flyers, I'm booing off Santa Claus in a game. So
yeah, and obviously Michael Irvin, famously in football, he got carted off the field his last game in the NFL, and the Philadelphia Eagles fans, which we're going to obviously see this weekend in full front and force, cheered him being carted off by, you know, going into the ambulance. So yeah, the Philadelphia fans are very unforgiving, and as somebody that sat a lot with Philadelphia Flyers fans when I was a New York Islanders season ticket holder, they are very unforgiving, to put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and look at the last couple cities that WWE has made stops in along the way to Philly. I mean, you had Chicago, you had New York, and now tomorrow you have Philadelphia. Those are three places.
Old-time WWF crowds going way back in those old WWF cities. Yep, good point.
Those are three places where you absolutely have to be on. You have to bring it, or that crowd, as we've seen in a couple matches, will literally give you the old-timey theater treatment. They'll just
Don't want to take you off the hook.
They'll
Get you off
just
the
watch
page.
it.
Yeah.
You know,
And an interesting point also is the weather's not going to be like warm tomorrow. I mean, I think that's an interesting thing. And obviously, we'd love the coach's theory. I don't even know if he would know, what's it going to be like for these wrestlers to wrestle in, I don't know, kickoff will be what, 45, 50 degrees? I mean, you're talking about by what, midnight? You're talking about in Philadelphia? What are we looking at, 40-ish degrees? I mean, not exactly warm weather environment. I wonder how that impacts the wrestlers. We never really talk about that. I mean, we've obviously
I can
seen.
speak to a little bit that, Tom, because I was with trading with the Hearts back in Calgary. It gets cold in the fall and stuff. Like when it gets cold, because you're exposed. Like it's not like you're wearing a t-shirt. You're not wearing Under Armour. You feel the breeze. You don't know how the weather is. It hurts the impact. It hurts much more. Like you're gonna get more stiff. Your muscles tighten up when that weather changes. It's not fun.
And we're looking at what, 7:00 is kind of the, I guess, official start time, and you're thinking about 7:00. It's still light out, but you're not really getting. I think tomorrow is supposed to be what, maybe 50. It's a little warmer on Sunday, but I think that's an interesting part of it. Maybe it makes for better wrestling. Maybe I don't know what it makes for, but yeah, I think going back to your point, T, because I think that's really the most interesting story. It's maybe the thing that we always say all wrestling matters here on Sportswire, but this is all the thing that matters here right now. Really, it's the only thing. And all what everybody is on the mind is, can Cody finish it off? And I don't think you can really say for certain. Randy was, telling me, last year was different. This year, it's a different thing because of different reasons. But I don't know. It's a good question. What happens if Roman retains? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think these guys need to adopt the old postmaster credo, and that's rain, wind, sleet, or snow. You better deliver. It doesn't matter. This is WrestleMania, damn it. And again, this WrestleMania absolutely does feel different. It feels different for many, many reasons. And you can factor in the weather in there if you want to, but like I said, the build up, the intensity, like I said, it doesn't feel like we're watching a kid's show. It feels like we're watching WWE again. So again, in a situation where, you had a whole bunch of negative that you're trying to veer as far as possible away from, this is your moment. This is any wrestler who aspires to be anything in this business aspires to at least be on the card at WrestleMania. Main eventing is the top goal, but you at least want to be on the card. So
Absolutely.
This is your time. This is your time. This is your moment. It's all come down to this. You have to deliver.
You want to say anything on that,
No,
Randy?
I agree with TBK because I'm going back to my somewhat wrestling days. Like, yeah, that's what you dream of. You want to be on the main event of WrestleMania, but you want to be on the card. You want to be about the biggest part. Listen, like I know wrestling has grown over the few years. AEW with their All Out, some other big places, but WrestleMania is still the be all end all in the professional wrestling industry. It's pretty much the Super Bowl.
Well, I think if you had a chance, it was on Twitter. Michael Cole talked about when he watched the first WrestleMania on closed circuit television in a theater, and you think about where it was 40 years ago to where it is now. It's a 2-day event. I mean, I still remember, 20 years ago in Madison Square Garden, it was here and it was an indoor building. I mean, we've only really been doing the outdoor stuff now for what, about maybe 10 years, a little more than that. I mean, it still wasn't that long ago that WrestleMania was really, a 1-day thing, and that was it. But now Randy, I think it is on part of the Super Bowl because it has become a week-long event. You see all the different press for it. We spoke about the press conferences weeks ago. We saw the media scrum today between LA Knight and AJ Styles. And, you see all the WWE wrestlers on all these mainstream television shows. We didn't even get that, I would say, 10 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the Super Bowl. I think this is basically it. And if you're a wrestling fan, you're more into this than the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl, it's only a few teams like that, a few fans and the cities. I mean, want to get the, TSF Takes guys and, some of these Sportswire guys. And yeah, they're into it, but wrestling, everybody's a wrestling fan around the world. The Super Bowl is not as global as an event as WrestleMania. I think that's a fair statement to make.
Absolutely, Tom. Going back to when I go, like you had people across the world, England, Japan, France,
I know some British
Germany.
wrestlers that messaged me on Facebook that they're in Philadelphia and they're going to be here in New York. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah, it's a global event. It's a global week event where it brings wrestling together. I know you have your internet division of fans who AEW wrestling, New Japan, whatever, but it's just something special where this is like it's a big event where you want to be a part of, whether you're a fan of W or not. It's just something at all.
Absolutely. And let's get to some comments here because people have been waiting to come in and we see some more people tuning in. So that's always a good thing. Want to say hello to our buddy Ethan Sorensen, who I think I saw in the GTS chats yesterday at Grimomania. Of course, unfortunately, our old buddy Jimmy Controversy fell short and lost control of Pro Wrestling Venom, but a different show for a different topic. Hello, Tom Bryce, TBK, and Randy Dillon. How are you guys doing today? We're doing great. It's Friday night. We're getting ready for WrestleMania. It was funny. I was tired like for the last 2 or 3 hours, and all of a sudden it was like, we're an hour ready. I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. It's ready to rock and roll. Want to say hello to our buddy Nate. Nate's got a couple of questions afterwards. We'll let him go to it first, and then we'll go to Ethan. Finally, the Dollar Boss has come back to Sportswire Radio. Right. Nate is giving himself a name. I like the fire, but TBK is not from Kentucky. He says you have a Kentucky accent. But as far as I know, Maryland isn't near Kentucky, though.
Not at all.
So there you go. There you go. But we say thank you, Nate, for tuning in. But I got a good question from Ethan Sorensen. Ethan's always got something interesting to say. He says, honestly, Tom, if Cody Rhodes doesn't win the Universal Championship, then what was the point of winning 2 Royal Rumble matches for Cody Rhodes for him just to lose 2 times to Roman Reigns? What do you guys say to that? That's a good point, actually.
It's pretty much you're telling Cody, we got you. It's like, you think we forget, we're bitter and all that, we got you. But Ethan, I gotta say, with everything they've done with Cody, especially the fact that if Cody hadn't resigned, I would say there's a huge possibility.
Which is what you brought up on Wednesday's abbreviated show.
Yep. He's resigned. They are full-fledged Cody Rhodes. Like, and I said this on Wednesday, Cody has become the face everyone can get around. This isn't John Cena. This isn't Roman Reigns where you have your division, your kids love him, your adults hate him. Everyone appreciates Cody Rhodes. I know there's still some people out there who don't, and heck, that's the beauty of professional wrestling. You love someone, you hate someone, but the majority of the fans are willing to stand behind Cody, which I can't see him lose at this point.
You want to say anything on that, TBK?
Yeah, pretty much. Ethan, this is what we've been talking about this whole time. I mean, if it sends a message to the fans that they're not comfortable in making any changes. They're comfortable sticking in their in their pattern, so to speak, and they don't want to change from that. But it also sends a message to the locker room. It sends a message that you guys aren't Roman, and we're not ready for that change yet. I mean, like you said, you give Cody the 2 big wins at the Royal Rumble. Again, as much as I am behind Cody Rhodes, I'm tired of hearing about this damn story. I want him to put pen to paper as much as everybody else and finish this damn thing. And it's time. It's time. Roman has had a fantastic, albeit drawn out championship reign.
Yeah.
But, the guy deserves a break. Cody Rhodes deserves the mantle. I mean, it's time for a Rhodes to be champion. And now is that time.
And I think if you go back, and we've said this a lot over the years, especially myself and Randy, because Randy's been here on the platform longer. I mean, for 2.5 years, he's been with us of the 5+ years on Sportswire, is that if Roman doesn't lose at Mania, when will the moment be and to who? I mean, right? I mean, wouldn't that be a fair point to make that if he doesn't lose it this weekend, when and who? I mean, isn't
4 years till he can surpass San Martino at this point? Because the other thing is he's 200 days away from Hogan. That's that's pretty much half a year,
6
more than
months.
half a year. So you're taking a big gamble. Then at that point, you might as well let him beat San Martino because everyone else you put in has shown potential, but Cody there's just something that stands. I don't know if it's a torn pec or the fact that his whole history behind him, were starting off so young, really struggling, Stardust, leaving, making AEW, and then coming back and just becoming so bigger. There's just this aura around him that you don't see much around a lot of other wrestlers.
And I think also, again, who is out there if it's not Cody? I mean, you've put all the lot, and I guess, to be fair, if you're going to go down the rabbit hole of putting the title to keep it on Roman Reigns, for, as you said, Randy, for at least for the foreseeable future, I would assume then by doing that, your logic is, well, business is the best it's ever been, so why change?
One thing I think with the Attitude Era, we saw how things changed so quick in the Attitude Era.
In the Attitude Era, I mean, I don't know if Stone Cold ever had a title run longer than, I don't know if he even had the title for 6 months. I think Triple H was champion, I want to say, for maybe he had a run, not with Evolution, but maybe in that 2000 era, maybe for 5 months he was champion, maybe a 4 or 5 month run, maybe 6.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I can't think of anybody that really had the title in the Attitude Era for like a long period of time. I don't think that occurred really.
Even in the Ruthless Aggression Era, like maybe I know Cena held it for a year, Batista held it for 8-9 months.
Triple H held it for a while in one of those runs, right? Maybe
Randy
7.
Orton, couple of months, but these guys could actually hold it, and I think they were able to get over, help other talent, and put the seat in the attendance. I think Roman has dried out at this point. I don't think Roman Visage at this point is good enough to keep doing this. I always say, in wrestling, you have an expiration date, and I think Roman as champion has come.
And don't you want to see what it'd be like for somebody else to try as champion? I mean, wasn't that also conversely, where you'd want to go with that? I mean, I don't know. I think it's an interesting point here. And okay, I mean, so we'll certainly come back to that. But did you like how SmackDown ended, where it seemed like Cody, Jay, you had Cody, Jay, and Seth come out, and they certainly Jimmy, Solo, and we saw all that, and were you happy about that? The faces kind of got a little bit of a victory. They got some momentum, albeit kind of expected, but by and large, were you happy with that? And was there anything that really stood out most about SmackDown today? Probably going to say not much, but to be expected. But anything you want to add on some of those things, gentlemen?
Thank you, sir. The ending was, pretty predictable. I mean, I think anybody could have seen that coming. Really did give them a, as you said, a face victory, I would say. I think it could have been a little bit more brutal. I mean, for God's sake, Cody's been getting his ass whooped for the past 2 episodes. I mean, a couple belt hits, a Cody cutter, and one, oh God, I forgot the move. I forgot what it's called. Help me out, Randy.
Which one?
Cody's finisher.
Crossroads.
Somebody knows. Thank you. One Crossroads. I was like, come on, man. You should be whipping him all the way out the arena, bro. Like they've been treating you like a dog lately. But they had to let the faces be faces. So let them get their last words in, let them point to the sign a couple more times, give the crowd a couple more photo ops. And I mean, it's like I said, what can you do at this point? This is the go home show. You've got tomorrow and Sunday to turn a phrase, let it all hang out. So do it.
You wanted to say something, Randy? I see you nodding there.
Yeah, with that, I was a little surprised same with TBK. They didn't give Jimmy Uso the beating, but I guess they want Jay to do that tomorrow. But the one thing I've noticed with Cody, the end of the promo, it was more focused towards The Rock. I feel like Roman has kind of taken a back seat. And I know this is all really talk about Roman ending Roman's run, but I feel Cody is more wants to be in the Rock business. And I know this all started with the whole Cody Cryberries and stuff. So I think that's what I'm more interested to see. The other thing with SmackDown, I just want to point out is, are we going to see a Carlito turn tomorrow night?
Well, I don't know if it was you, but it might have been. Maybe it was Chris Belcher on his podcast. Let's bring TBK back in because he was lost. There's TBK. But I don't know. I don't know if it was you or not, but it might have been. Maybe it was on Chris Belcher's podcast. If Chris Belcher, of course, is one of our longtime analysts here, and he's been a part of a big podcast that we've had here. But we played Square Circle Radio, where it seems like you'd be building Carlito to finally have the big payoff with the heel turn at WrestleMania. I mean that's a good point. You see a nod in your head there, TBK. What do you want to say?
Yeah, no. I think it's again. There's some moments where WWE can be, let's call them painfully obvious. um, we saw it from Carlito being the first on the scene with Dragon Lee, and then Andrade basically stepping on Carlito's toes by inserting himself into the match. You saw the look there. I would pretty much say that a heel turn is imminent. But you know what? It still makes for a good story. Andrade looks better than ever, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, makes sense. Obviously, I guess that's where, we probably see Ethan Sorensen would like to add that he did like the segment with KO and Randy Orton. He thought that was good. Did you guys like that as well?
I thought it was gold. It was really entertaining.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, it was you had your Scooby-Doo chase moment, and
It so reminded me of that.
Literally, that's all you needed was the music, and but I thought them two coming back out under the ring and not like coming down the ramp, I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, again, it literally does feel like WWE is trying to pull out all the stops, or at least as many as they can without, again, ruining what they have planned over the next 2 days.
Let me go back to, you guys talked about Carlito for a second and the LWO. Andrade, we obviously see here, lines up with the LWO. Do you think that maybe we'll see a push or maybe a big uppings, more or less, in terms of where we see the LWO post-Mania? Is that something to keep an eye on? Because let's say, I agree with you guys. I say I agree. And Carlito is going to obviously make a big turn at Mania. I want to say hello to Scooby Stoney in a few minutes because we'll see the TSF takes guys and a little while with the regular Sportswire Radio guys. But would that be something you could see that maybe the LWO would be maybe a more dominant stable coming up on SmackDown's ahead if you got Andrade and you have Carlito? What do you guys think on that?
I think the LWO might be done at this point because I feel like they have no traction. Rahul and Rakim, like the other two guys, like they were in NXT this week. They really haven't had much.
Andrade joining LWO, Carlito turns, goes against them. Doesn't that put LWO in more of a prominent, because now you've got Andrade, you got this whole thing with the Carlito turn. You have Mysterio back. Wouldn't that put them into more relevant storylines a little bit there, at least in the middle of the card?
I don't know, because I feel like they're going to put Andrade back, Selena Vega back with Andrade. I think that what is kind of
so the LWO then you think is not going to last longer? I
don't think much longer the way things are playing.
You want to have any thoughts on that, TBK?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. To Andrade, you got to think, right? And I don't want to step on the guy's toes in any way, shape, and form, but look at who his wife is. And look at who his father-in-law is.
On Instagram, by the way. On Instagram the other day. It was like, okay, yeah, that's a different time for a different show. We are a family show on Sportswire. But yeah, definitely was. I'll say that.
You would think there has been, I won't even say rumors. It's again blatantly obvious that some people in some families do get that push quicker than others. But Andrade is a phenomenal talent, so I won't take that away from him.
He's been here a couple months and hasn't really, you know what I'm saying? He hasn't had that oomph. You was expecting maybe him. He came back at the Rumble, and it's been. Well, I don't know.
I thought tonight was great, though. I absolutely didn't see it coming. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I could have totally seen him riding out the heel roll and then maybe saving the turn for tomorrow. But that's, I mean, it gave something unexpected tonight, which is perfectly fine. There's something I could see. I don't know. It might be a little far fetched. Guys, let me know what you think of this.
Sure.
Obviously, we had the Ray and Dominic match at WrestleMania. Who knows? Maybe, Andrade coming to LWO, Carlito going to Legado de Fantasma. That is a freaking mouthful. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we get a Dom and Ray tag team situation. Maybe, I don't know, maybe somehow Dom comes back, sees the light, because there have been the only reason why I say that is there has been a lot of teases about the Judgment Day finally breaking up as well.
Yeah, we've spoke a lot about that on Sportswire the last couple of months. And what is the expiration date for the Judgment Day? We talk about the Bloodline, their situation. Randy talked a little bit about, is there an expiration coming soon for the LWO? But the Judgment Day's been around a while now. I mean, they've been around, I think, for the better part of 2 years or so. And, that goes back to when some guy that used to be named Edge was around. And, even before that. And you kind of wonder, is that an expiration date that's coming? Rhea's kind of going into her own scene. He's certainly got the briefcase in Damian Priest. You got Dom, who's been kind of spending more time with Santos Escobar and the ilks of that, and maybe that comes to an end soon.
Yeah, no, I definitely we talked about this Wednesday, Tom. Judgment Day, I think Mania it's going to implode on them, because I don't see Finn and Damian walking away with the tag team titles. I see Rhea still walking away, but I feel like Rhea really has established herself, where before it was kind of like Judgment Day was good for her, where you had a little bit of a shield to protect, let her build herself, but she's taken herself to that next level. She doesn't need them anymore. It's more like they need her.
Absolutely no question about that. Let me get to a couple of comments here. First, do want to say hello to Scooby Stoney, and sorry, Randy, about the Capitals. Maybe we'll bring you back on at some point when we do the NHL, because the Capitals lost a tough one, which actually helped my Islanders. Actually, as a matter of fact, the Flyers lost, the Red Wings lost, and the Capitals lost. But actually, we'll get to that, because I'm actually up to date in the NHL. Maybe we'll talk about that. We'll bring you back toward the end.
Tom, if it wasn't for Mania, I wouldn't be smiling right now. I would be crying underneath.
Good point. We'll move on from that. Honestly, Tom, a Carlito heel turn would be an interesting build-up to maybe Rey Mysterio versus Carlito, which I believe that was Chris Belcher and Andy York on their podcast, because Carlito's been back for a while now in WWE, and they really haven't done anything with them. Wouldn't this be the moment? Anyway, we remember Carlito really in his heyday in the middle of the 2000s in the Ruthless Aggression, and he was the heel with the apple, and he ran out there and he was arrogant. He went after everybody, and we've seen him here, and it's been a rather watered down version of Carlito. If you're going to do anything with them, wouldn't this be the move?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I mean, and that's what I was saying. I mean, I really could see it, as you were saying, Dominic has been spending a lot of time with Santos, and that's how he could be exited from the Judgment Day. They're going, look, you're supposed to be with us. Your focus is elsewhere. If you want your focus to be elsewhere, then go over there. And boom, that's Dom's exit. He gets kicked out there. Then I see it being a very like father, like son moment. Santos turns on Dom and goes, I did it to your father. I'll do it to you too. And like I said, I see them turning, I would love to see a Ray and Dom versus Carlito and Santos. I think that would be fantastic.
You know what? I mean, yeah, interesting. I mean, you want to maybe close out the future of the Mysterios. That's a good way to do it. Jump in.
The only thing with that TBK with Dom turning face, like, I just felt he was stale as a face when he was with Ray. I feel the one thing with Dom is he is the most hated heel. Like, who was hated this much? Like, I'm even thinking like back to the Attitude Era. Like JBL comes to mind like one of the more hated heels.
Xbox sucks.
Or the Die Rocky Die chant when he first came out. Like I never seen fans hate on something like Dom, and I feel like he can maybe do a single heel run possibly.
I think though that
Didn't we
Dom
speak about him last year before TBK comes back? Didn't we speak about even him last year as a guy that could be a main eventer one day?
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
could be, yeah, could be.
Jump in, TBK. You good?
No, I think, Randy, that Dom is hated for different reasons. I think he's hated because they've billed him to be whiny and annoying, and people are like, dude, shut up. Like, stop talking. I don't think it's that kind of hate to where you want to jump the barricade and tackle the kid. You know what I mean? It's pretty much like, just take the microphone away from him, smack him on the ass, and send him back to the showers. Like, shush. Like, roll up the newspaper and whack him on the nose. Stop.
Well, it's funny. We had my dad, Radley Belmont, who the stepdads, who is the GTS Intercontinental Champion. Actually, he would do that in his matches. He would actually have, no, I'm serious. He would actually have his newspaper, and when his opponent kind of, was in the wrong, he would actually take the paper and hit him over it sometimes. So, there you go. But yeah, and that's why we love Rad Dad. But a couple others, I want to get to predictions in a second. But Andre, the Giant Battle Memorial, Bronson Reed wins it. Care about that at all? Or
I was surprised. I thought Chad Gable would have won that. And I was really surprised they gave it to Bronson Reed with the Andre Madro. It had lost its value, I think, since the first one.
Oh, it's definitely lost its value.
But I think it might be the right stepping stone for a guy like Bronson Reed. Look, he beat Sami Zayn a few weeks ago. Now he gets a big win here. Maybe they're trying to build him up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, God bless the ring builders, because at one point you had a lot of meat in that freaking ring with Ivar, Bronson, and Otis. But yeah, and God bless freaking Tozawa, because my man got lawn darted. I was like, oh my gosh. And for a moment there, it turned pretty hairy. But you know what? Good for Bronson. It looks like they're not just trying to sweep him under the rug, because honestly, I'll go out on a limb and say it. Bronson could have been very He could have been a he could have been an Omos very quick, very quick.
Yeah.
So at least they're trying to give it, like, I don't think he has an official match at Mania. So at least this is a very prestigious participation trophy.
That reminds me, when I was a kid playing basketball, they would give you the participation trophies after you completed the season. And we want to say hello to our friend, Mr. Peter Richards. He wants to say, update on Tozawa. He's okay and nothing serious. Good enough. And I want to thank everybody here for tuning in, because we got 51 people now that are actually watching us live. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. So let's, I could talk about some other things, but I think I do want to ask you predictions. I do want to talk about Shayna Baszler at some point in a few minutes. I do. It's good that I think are relevant. Let's go with one that I've been really dying to talk about here. LA Knight and AJ Styles. And obviously saw that media scrum there, and you're starting to see it be personal. It's obviously for a couple of months these guys have been back and forth with each other. And, who do you think gets a win here? I mean, obviously you could argue that LA Knight really needs the win to solidify himself, but then you've got AJ Styles here who, probably wants one more crack at, a top run as a main eventer. But I'm curious on what you guys think, and who will walk away with the win.
This is a tough one, because both guys need the win, and both guys, you can go either direction. I really been thinking about this. I think LA Knight is going to pull out the win, just because I think there's still that momentum behind, but I wouldn't be surprised if AJ, but I just think LA Knight, there's still hope in the movement, and I think it's still there. So I think, can they resurge it one more time to see if there's anything left in that? So I'm going to go with that reason for LA Knight.
What do you think, TBK?
Well, first of all, can we acknowledge the fact that we almost lost LA Knight tonight to a piece of gum? Because I was like, not this way. Can't go out this way, guy. But
Well, certainly, yeah, I guess it beats slipping on a banana peel. The old adage was, don't slip on a banana peel, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know what? The media scrum. So I watched it a couple times, and there were some elements in there to where it was like, oh man, like are they really going? The slam that AJ delivered to LA Knight, that was not, you can't tell me that was hard. That was a hard slam. And I don't know if you paid attention, but I think LA may have given him a tiny receipt because there was a punch to the back of the head there.
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, this one, again, you know, it fits. It fits like a glove. Like everything is ramped up. Everything feels personal.
But that's what's best in a feud, right? I mean, when there's you see the
for sure.
personal and, you know, we saw at the media scrum, AJ Styles has got a bloody nose and, you know, we see those punches. We see the guys getting red in the face. I mean, that's, you know, what makes a wrestling feud, right? We always talk about, you know, romanticize about Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and how they didn't like each other, or Cena and The Rock years ago, and, you know, Becky and Charlotte later days. But, you know, AJ Styles and LA Knight, they seem to be on a crash collision course in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, so I agree with Randy to a fault. I think, you know, LA definitely still has that momentum behind him. I think it's a catch-22 here because it can only help LA Knight in this situation. Especially if he gets a win at Mania, which is, you know, anybody's dream. I think at this point, AJ, he's still, I mean, God, he looks the best he's ever looked in his career. He
looked great. I mean, he looked great. You know, you see him in the scrum and he took the shirt off and he,
you know, still very much in shape, still very much a competitor. So, I mean, I don't know here. I don't think I would be disappointed one way or another. Me personally as a fan, but I could understand how, especially with the rise that LA Knight has had here lately, how not giving the shove could hurt a little.
Okay, fair enough. And I kind of think here, kind of along the lines of you guys, LA Knight really needs to win. This is his moment. Another guy, not to say it's like Cody Rhodes, but if he doesn't win here, I mean, you know, what do you do with him going forward? I mean, you know, I guess you could recover him, but for a guy that's been on the edge of the main event situation to not get a win, I don't know.
I think AJ can recover because I like his new character. I like what he's doing. I think he loses to LA Knight. I think he can easily rebound depending who he faces.
I don't know about LA Knight, though. If LA Knight loses it, that's why I feel like LA Knight needs to win. He needs to win a little more. Let me say a couple of people. I want to give a big shout out, of course, to the CCW Underground World Champion, Mr. Jam Dog himself. And, of course, Mr. Jam Dog, we're going to bring back onto Sportswire after next Friday, because next Friday, the Tribal Cheese is back. And the Tribal Cheese, the Big Cheese Logan, is taking his place in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And he's going to have a lot to say, apparently, next Friday. So that'll be one for the ages. He'll be here around 8 o'clock British Standard Time. So we look forward to seeing the Tribal Cheese. So he'll be back. And Jam Dog, would like to have him on, I think, right afterwards. So we're going to bring on back Mr. TBK. But so, Mr. Jam Dog, I enjoyed your match. I really look forward to talking about that. So hopefully we can get you back on. Ron Franklin, who said, "Hey, Tom, great day, man." He was out there in Philadelphia, and I'm surprised he's here, but he's a trooper. And Ethan Sorensen's got this as we get more people to tune in. I have a WrestleMania prediction. We'll give you a pass on the spelling. Tom, the way that Grayson Waller and Austin Theory came out from under the ring and chased down Randy Orton and KO, maybe they will help Logan Paul retain his title. That's his prediction on the triple threat match. What do you guys think there? It's a good segue.
For the triple threat match, I think you need to take the title off Logan Paul. Listen, I think he's shown this was more of a test for him. Okay, can you run with your schedule, be on the show if we need you? I think he's shown he passed it, so I think it's easy enough to take the title off him. And I think Kevin Owens deserves it. Like, I think, one, to put back that bad US run we had back in 2017. Randy Orton really doesn't need it, though I could see Randy Orton getting the pin, and this could start something between KO and Orton down the road. But I think this is Kevin Owens' moment to come up with a big win, especially also to put away I guess he put away his bad thoughts with WrestleMania 33 with his match with Jericho for the Intercontinental was last year, but I think he'll take it.
You ever thought of 2 TBK? Who do you like there?
Well, I mean, you got to look at what they're doing with Logan Paul, right? They recently gave him the first ever branding opportunity in the middle of a WWE ring, which is, it's no small feat. They made him US champion very, very quickly. Yes, it's a mid-card belt, but he's representing it well. I mean, there's also a little bit of tension brewing. If you pay attention, there's a little bit of tension brewing between Grayson and Austin.
Yeah, we spoke about that on a prior Sportswire episode. I know we spoke about that at one point.
I was even thinking at one time, and I don't know what you guys think about this, but I was even thinking at one time maybe they were thinking about doing a mini faction with Logan, Grayson, and Austin, kind of like and here's a throwback name for you, Randy, kind of like a mini return to like an old Spirit Squad. Like you got you got a bunch of pretty boy annoying dudes, that come out there and they're all hype and they're all
I mean, I get the frat boy, I get the
exactly.
arrogance. I mean,
come on.
Logan in the Spirit. That's what I'm going to call it.
100%.
Frat boy, you got the frat boy written all over it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know if WWE is going that direction. If Logan wins,
well, I don't think they're going to come out with the pom poms and all. But like I said, I mean, the general sentiment is there. It's like I said, you got 3 pretty boy annoying dudes, and I just think if at anything, if you're trying to keep Austin Theory relevant, again, Logan Paul, love him or hate him, he's still got the following. You know who the guy is, whether you can't stand him or you can't stand him. I don't know.
We used to have somebody that would listen to our shows, kind of a interesting person, and I won't say her name. She used to listen to us for weeks and months here, and all she would do is complain about, you mentioned Logan Paul's name and you can't mention his name, and there are people that really vehemently hate his name being mentioned. So I mean, it works that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, you may hate the name, but Paul Levesque does not. So
no, and for good reason, because look, social media engagements, following. But
sorry, Tom. He's proven himself in the ring. I know people don't like him.
Go back to the match he had with Reigns.
Yeah.
He proved himself in that match with Roman Reigns, wrestled through an injury, and he's been pretty gutty. I mean, you can't. That's why part of me thinks I think he might retain.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's no official better way to give a guy the rub than to get it from a guy like Randy Orton. Even KO at this point, we'll give KO that honor too. I mean, KO's been around for quite a minute now.
Absolutely.
But again, if they allow Logan to retain over 2 guys of KO and especially Randy Orton's caliber, then I guess I would say the writing's on the wall.
Io Sky and Bailey, who do you guys like there?
You gotta give it to Bailey. I think
you gotta give it to Bailey.
She deserves it with everything she's gone
Did you
through.
guys see what she's talked about? How she really hasn't had a WrestleMania moment before. She talked about the fact that since she's come back, she feels like she hasn't been able to give and be in that spot, and this is kind of her spot at the moment. She feels like she's been there but hasn't quite gotten there, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys caught some of the things she said on the WWE website.
So you look at Bailey's WrestleMania history. 2017, a fatal 4 with Charlotte, Becky, Nia. 2018 in the old Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal in the pre-show. 2019, the fatal 4-way for the women's tag team. 2020, the pandemic within a 5-way. And really, it was a different but she was a champion. But the short match. 2021 was on doing the show. Was kind of the hosting like on the set. Wasn't
She
there
was
due to
injured
injury?
still at the time. She had the long injury. Yep.
2023, like the last year, that 6 women's tag with Io and Dakota against Becky, Lita, and Trish. Like she's worked her way up here to get this opportunity where she's seen the lights of her counterparts like Charlotte and Becky really carry in the face. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, who did main event at WrestleMania with Bianca Belair. So this is her time, and she's worked for it.
What do you say, TBK?
Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. I mean, she has more than put in her time. She's part of the 4 horsewomen. And again, like Randy just said, to sit back and have to watch, love her to death, and she's a phenomenal talent. But to sit back and have to watch Charlotte year after year after year, Becky year after year after year. I mean, for God's sake, even Mercedes, even though she's not with the company anymore, she just got a huge contract. So you got to give Bayley, it's her time. She deserves it.
Yeah, I think most people would like to see Bayley, get a shot at it, and I think that I would certainly agree as well. So, I mean, we'll certainly hope. Let's also go to, speaking of people that maybe could have their moment, even though they've had a moment before. Speaking of pandemics, Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre.
Go ahead, Randy.
This is a tough one because with everything that's happening, and the big thing is we still don't know if Drew McIntyre has signed a contract to stay in WWE. That's the thing that is, I think, the $1 million question. I honestly think with everything that happened, Damian Priest will cash in. I know Coach has been predicting this. Damian Priest will cash it in, but he's not going to cash in after Drew wins. He's going to cash it like Seth did in the match, make it a triple threat match, and walk out with champion. Because I think they're going to give McIntyre this moment, but I think they're going to save his bigger moment for when they're back in Scotland for Clash of the Castle in front of his home country.
Yeah. I don't know if I need to say anything. WrestleMania is obviously the moment, or the pay-per-view where moments are made. And to give Drew that moment, even for a second, maybe that's enough. Maybe you do it justice for a minute so he can have that crowd. But gosh, winning a major title in your home country, that's got to feel even better. So, if he can hang in there, and if that is on the table, I'd take it.
And the one thing I'm going to say, they have to pull the plug on Priest with the briefcase.
Oh God,
get him, cash it in, and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then you can pull McIntyre.
Oh, we've been talking about this for months. I mean, you have to do it sometime.
I think at this point you have to. You can't wait anymore. You're running out of time with him. If Judgment Day is going to break up, this is a perfect opportunity. Can he hang with as a solo act?
I think it's an excellent point. We'll have to find out. And part of me does think this is where the cash in comes in. I don't know about Cody being cashed in on, and maybe Drew wins. You get the cash in. Speaking of, Judgment Day and obviously them and the undisputed tag team championship match. Who do you guys like here? I mean, this is to me such the most. I was listening to some of our podcasts on our internet radio station, which is the link below at sportswireradio.org. And if you're out there watching us, thank you so much. We have 57 people watching us, so I really appreciate your support. It's been a great week on Sportswire Radio. So if you're here, please hit that sub button on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. But I really don't know where they go here in crowning a new tag team champion. I mean, do they go and go with Awesome Truth? Do they go? I don't know. I mean, I think that this is the most fascinating one. Then we hear rumors of another tag team coming in. I mean, what do you guys think here in this undisputed tag team championship match? Who comes out of here? This might be the most toughest one to call.
I think it is because for those who watch Raw, Michael Cole said something very interesting. You have to win both the Raw and the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. So I think we're going to get 2 new champions come out the end of the night. I definitely think R-Truth and Miz is going to walk out of one, because I think someone said, wouldn't it be funny if R-Truth just wins one, hold one belt, and run the way thinks he win, but the match is still going on?
Yeah, it would be, well, it would be fantastic, and it would be truth being truth. So yes, that would be great. I mean, but if you've been paying attention lately to Instagram specifically, there's always that rumor mill that's still very much running wild about the Hardys. You know, yeah, it was rumored that Matt was presented a new AEW contract, but if you've been paying attention to Matt's Instagram page, he's literally been posting nothing but WWE moments for the past 2 weeks. It's been WrestleMania moments. It's been solo moments. It's been Matt and Jeff moments. And as we alluded to earlier, there is that tension that's brewing between Theory and Waller. So the speculation is that something is going to happen. Those two are going to get pulled from the match. Insert the Hardys. Boom, we have another, secret Hardy.
Chris Belcher and some of our podcasts were saying, this is the moment. You pull the plug. You go with the Hardys here. That's where everyone seems to be speculating.
I'm going to add to it. So for those who follow Instagram, and Jim, I don't know if you heard of him, Joey Swall. So he's this guy on Instagram who criticized people for poor gym adequate, and Austin Theory and Waller did something like that, and they called him out, and now they're calling out. So I think somehow he's going to get involved to cost Theory and Waller their moment, and that's when you're going to introduce maybe the Hardys, possibly. But the thing is, because Jeff signed later in AEW, is he still under contract?
I was going to ask the same question. Where is Jeff Hardy's contract? Now, he had some obviously personal issues. Did they take time off the contract? That's, a really good point. I mean, people were saying, well, maybe the Dudleys could be inserted here. There was a rumor there about that. I don't know what Devon has left. I don't know. Is Bully Ray under contract with Impact, or at Impact everybody's basically like freelance workers at this point, because that's who they are. And Peter Richards wants to say they need to split the tag belts, which you guys spoke about. So in the interest of time, let me go shotgun on some of these other ones. Obviously, I'm not going to Cody Roman. We've spoke about kind of pretty much ad nauseum, and we'll let the TSF takes guys and the other guys come on here about 10 or 15 minutes. But Uso versus Uso, who do you like here? I'll go shotgun on it more or less.
I'll let you take the floor.
I mean, goodness gracious, you got to go with Jay. Jay's absolutely on fire right now. And I think, like I said, if you're gonna be wrapping up the bloodline, then wrap it up. Let Jay win. Let Jay have the moment. Let the bloodline take their first chink in the armor, I guess you could say, and move on.
I'm going to go with Jay as well. I was thinking for a while we could see a Naomi turn, and on a Naomi turn with her helping Jimmy, but I think also as well, I think now with the insert of Jay Cargill, I think that turn might wait for a little longer. She's going to stay face for a while. So I'm going to go with Jay's going to get the big win.
Okay, good enough. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Jay get, and I know Big T is here. Big T, hang on tight. We're going to go through some of these real quick. Gunther, Sami Zayn. I mean, I know we spoke about this also at ad nauseum, but who do you like here real quick?
I'm going to add simple, just Gunther. Sami Zayn just doesn't have the momentum to pull off this big win and to carry that ultra super. When you beat someone like Gunther, you have to go strong. I don't think Sami Zayn can do it. So that's why I'm going to say Gunther is going to hang on.
It should have been Gable.
Which is what I think a lot of people have felt, and I think that's a very, very fair statement. Becky and Rhea.
Rhea.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's kind of where most people lie, and I'm actually going to pick Rhea Ripley here on this. I think we just kind of spoke about the 6-woman tag, Bianca, Jade, Naomi against Damage Control. You kind of alluded to that, Randy, that they're going to stay face. Jade Cargill coming in. I think we all kind of agree that they would get a big win here, a resounding victory. We spoke about the LWO. We spoke about that. We spoke a little bit about that as well. I'm trying to think here of night one. Let's go with it. Rock and Roman, Cody and Seth.
Rock and Roman, I think if you really want Cody to finish the story and get that awe moment, you have to stack the deck up against him, make it bloodline rules, make it everything, make it like they're doing everything possible to keep Cody Rhodes away from this moment.
Yeah. I think it's pretty much like the Hercules story at this point. He has to go through the trials or whatever, and they got you're right. I guess at this point you pretty much have to make it the ultimate superhero super face moment. He overcomes all the adversity, and it's freaking Empire Strikes Back and all this, Return of the Jedi and all. It's I at this point, it just makes sense. So I got to go to Rock and Roman.
The one thing I want to see though on night 2, I want to see Mama Rose whip the Rock with the That's what I really want to see to get some retribution.
That could be, you know what? But I think we all kind of agree there has to be some adversity. Yeah, the Hercules is a good one. Reminds me of when I was in English class in college. That definitely does, remind me of that. And let's go to Ethan Sorensen here before we move on. I want to get you guys take really quick on Shayna Baszler. We'll bring in the rest of the guys here. And if you want to come back later on, Randy, I'm going to spend about 20 minutes on the NHL.
Just let me know around the time, and then
I'll let you know. But he thinks that Gunther is most likely going to retain his title, and Rhea as well. And, did anybody see this, that tomorrow marks 666 days that Gunther would be the Intercontinental Champion? So the irony that you would take the title off him on that, I don't know if that means anything, but I don't know.
Not today, Satan.
That was, I'm glad somebody said that. There's 666 days. So, I kind of think that's how you maybe keep the title on him. Don't change there. I would kind of hate to see somebody lose the title on 666 days. And we've spoke ad nauseum about Cody and Roman. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that on Monday's show for sure when we do the post show. But I do want to ask you guys real quick, do you think it was a big deal Shayna Baszler at all? Was in GCW and Bloodsport with Zoe Stark. I shared to you, Randy, and you have a thought on that real quick before we move on to closing thoughts and get the rest of the gang here on Sportswire?
I think it's really a dynamic move here where WWE's willing to pull down that wall. I think now, listen, just with these smaller promotions, they think, listen, we're not using talent rather than staying at home. If you want to go do one of their shows, I think it's good for both companies where they get a bigger star, they get someone else there, and it keeps them fresh. I think, and you get the other talent as well to see possibilities, like a scouting report. So I think it's a really interesting. I know Vince would be. Vince McMahon's senior son would be all against it.
Oh my goodness, he would forget about it. It would never happen to me.
I think Paul Levesque really understands how the business has changed back from the 90s and early 2000s, and I think he's seen what AEW and other companies do, and I think it's a benefit where if you can get some other talent exposed and get your talent still doing things rather than sitting on their butts, why not?
And it gives them also a little bit of fire lit in them, these talents. You think it's a big deal at all, TBK, or what do you think on that before we get to the rest of the gang? Anything on that?
Do something with her. because, let her do something, because she has not been impactful since she's come up to the main roster. Like I said, she was an absolute beast in NXT. And then
we spoke about that a lot on prior shows, that it just hasn't really materialized. So obviously, we'll definitely see, and obviously we'll be on the air Monday after Raw, and we'll talk a lot about the fallout from WrestleMania nights 1 and 2. Will Cody finally finish the story? Who knows? Will Drew McIntyre maybe have a moment? Will CM Punk be around? I think it was on Wednesday's show, somebody said CM Punk's going to take the brace off and all of a sudden going to be back out there. TBK has said that in prior shows. Maybe it's a work. Maybe he's going to come out there and wrestle again. Who knows? I'm sure there'll be other surprises, and obviously we'll see what happens with the women's side. I think that's so fascinating. Obviously the tag team situation. So all great things here. So let's go to closing thoughts. I'm going to bring on the regular guys here in a second so we can all be joined and sing Kumbaya. Probably not, but also want to add to you guys, by the way, I should probably bring it up. It's a good time to bring it up as we bring on the rest of these guys here. Gentlemen, and for Randy and TBK, before, we get, to the rest of the guys here, we're actually having a competitive eating contest here on Sportswire Radio. We're having it May 24th, 10 p.m. Eastern time. So we're all going to be joined up, and it's going to be between Big T and Sad Boy. They're actually going, yep, there's Big T, and Big T is going to he's claimed on last week's show, I put the clip on Instagram and Facebook, that he's going to be able to devour, I think we're looking at hamburgers. He's going to devour either it's Crystal's hamburgers, whatever hamburgers of choice, and he's going to destroy Sad Boy on it. Sad Boy seemed rather confident, but maybe he'll try to stay trendy and try to eat as many burgers as possible. We are certainly having the first ever competitive eating contest, and everybody's welcome to join in on the fun. We'll have a weigh-in as well, so that's going to be exciting. So we'll have a competitive eating contest here on Sportswire Radio, and I guess maybe he's changing his mind because he's not here with us right now. So maybe that's a sign of May 24th to come. That maybe the May 4th is not going to be with Sad Boy. Who knows? But hopefully he's joined with us here in a few minutes. But I'm going to go to closing thoughts. I'll go to UTBK first, and I'll go to Randy because maybe we'll bring Randy back on in like 45 minutes for the NHL. We'll do a lot of NHL stuff. I know Rob Maross is going to give me the Met memories, and we'll do the contest, but I got to work other things in here, but we'll do that. We'll make everybody, welcomed on Sportswire. So TBK, want to give you the floor, want to give you some closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and fire away.
Great show as always, Tom. Good to see you, TSF boys. Chris, Rob, how you guys doing?
You've done some work for the boys. So obviously,
I have.
You guys love each other, obviously.
I have done that. I could have sworn at one point I saw that this, I don't know, maybe I was wrong. I thought that this eating contest was supposed to be a hot dog competition. And I was just going to say, it's cheating if you spit on the hot dogs before you eat them.
We talked about that, in the club, we talked about that. And then I think it all turned into like Crystal's hamburgers. And then it was like, I don't know if Big T and Sad Boy have to agree. I don't know if all of us agree on this. I don't know where we're going with this, but I mean, yeah, I mentioned hot dogs. I think Big T talked about nachos, and then it all came into hamburgers. So I don't know where are we going.
I'm down with whatever, man. Anything doesn't matter.
Well, Sad Boy's not here. Maybe you'll just eat the food, and Sad Boy will just forfeit. Maybe that's what we're gonna have because we don't have Sad Boy here at the moment.
Well, he should be on
I
here
expect
soon.
that Thursday, no matter what.
Pick your cholesterol. I'm sure you guys will kill it. No, man, I just, want to say as always, like I said, great show, Tom. This is it. I mean, we're here, less than 24 hours from WrestleMania finally kicking off. Everything has been a culmination up to this point. So, to take a quote from The Rock, sit back and enjoy the ride that Sportswire's taking you on.
Oh, and we got 59 people just now, or 57, but people, they're definitely going on the rides. It's been a great weekend. If you're on that ride, go follow TBK because he's on Instagram, and I got to share the screen. He's in our Hall of Fame. We love hearing his podcast, and we are looking forward to some big guests coming up with friends of the show and also some Hall of Famers, T.B.K0892. So make sure you go and follow him on Instagram, check him out on Facebook, and support one of our own. He does a great job doing logos. Obviously, the TF Takes guys have gotten some logo work from him and others, so make sure you support this man. And I can't wait for Monday's show, and a lot to talk about post-Raw. And my friend, good work as always. And I'll go to you, Randy Dillon, next. Maybe we'll see you, though, in a little while, but I do a lot in the NHL I do want to get to for a few minutes. Maybe I'll have you come back in about 40 minutes or so, but I want to give you the floor for now. Randy, anything else you want to plug? And maybe we'll see you back in a little while for a cameo.
For sure, Tom, a pleasure to come back for a second time, but as always a pleasure to be on. TFS guys, Chris, Rob, always a pleasure to see you. Listen, it's WrestleMania. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the show. We're so excited. Wrestling's never been hotter.
Amen.
It
Amen.
doesn't matter if you like AEW, Impact, New Japan, WWE. Just enjoy the wrestling for crying out
GTS
loud.
and all the companies that come on
Exactly.
Sportswire,
But if
whether
you're
it's
gonna be
IMF, whether it's
Yeah.
DBW, whether it's AWL, PBW, WCE, even Triple W, doesn't matter. Listen,
there's so much. Just enjoy the gosh damn
Hold it.
wrestling. But listen, if you're gonna be like the people who complain about WWE whatsoever on Saturday, I said this on Wednesday. Watch Collision with 400 other people on TV because a lot of the world's gonna be watching WrestleMania. They brought The Rock for a reason. It's gonna be huge. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. Just enjoy it. It's gonna be a blast.
and I gotta give one quick plug here because actually on Sportswire we actually do have a portion of a wrestling company. Actually, we actually have a little portion of a wrestling company that yours truly has a portion with a couple of guys that are very well known on Sportswire Radio. Their names are Omen Black and Soldier GP, and I have to bring it up here on the screen before TBK and Randy leave because I do want to pull it up on the screen so the other guys can see that we actually have other things here on Sportswire Radio. So we wanted to just pull it up so the guys can see quick here. We're going to let the world see who haven't seen it for the first time, but this is what we have a portion of some ownership in. It's the Pride Wrestling Federation. They're on YouTube. So if you're here for hit that sub button. It's obviously something that we have a role in. You'll see more stuff in the works when it comes to it. You have a whole list of people here, a whole list of wrestlers. We got a lot of shows, a lot of views there. So we're looking forward to revamping it, talking about some of the different things here on shows. We'll maybe watch some of the matches, have some of the new talents come on. So that's a portion of what Sportswire Radio owns. So we are now technically in the wrestling business, and we want to shout out obviously Omen and Soldier because alongside myself, we own a portion of this company. So wanted to show this here for the guys. So if you're out there right now, make sure you hit that sub button for us at Pride Wrestling Fed 1. All you have to do is search Pride Wrestling Federation. That's one of our new ventures here on Sportswire. So we're not only getting into competitive eating, we're also getting into the world of wrestling and some other live streaming. So hopefully we'll incorporate some Sportswire Radio personalities. Think of it like how they have the Manning cast in football. Maybe we'll have like the Sportswire cast. We'll get all the guys here and we'll just, have a fun and have some fun and just watch some of these matches and just have no idea what's going on. No. But obviously, all seriousness, make sure you follow this. And we want to thank, obviously, the Pride Wrestling Federation for allowing us this opportunity. And certainly shout outs to Omen and Soldier. So there you go there. But TBK and Randy, I thank you guys for all that you do. TBK, I'll see you Monday. And Randy, I'll definitely see you maybe in a little while. And also shout out to our buddy Joe Dell, the legendary Joe Dell, who says, hey, guys, Paul Heyman's being inducted now. Thank you for reminding me. I don't have Peacock, so I'm here on Sportswire. So maybe Joe will give me some, and maybe we'll talk about some other things. So, but until then, TBK, thank you for all that you do for us. Randy, I'll see you back in a little while. And I also have here the man that is also competing against Big T in that competitive eating contest. Maybe he was chickening out, but he's not, and that is Mr. Sad Boy himself, Alan Michaels. So great stuff there. TBK, I'll see you soon, and that's about that. And gentlemen, let's pull this back off the screen. And by the way, TBK or TBK, Mr. Alan Michaels, are you going by Alan Michaels now or Sad Boy?
Going by Alan Michaels here, just to keep it all running together.
So real quick before we go into the rest of the guys, I had to also, I don't know if you caught the announcement, but we actually now own a portion of a company that, you remember this company?
I do remember that company, yeah.
Well, yours truly owns a portion of it.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yours truly owns a portion of it. So stay tuned. Maybe it could be more work opportunities for you in the future. Wink, wink. Maybe I'm going to be your boss, just like James Taylor. I'm going to be his boss now, apparently. But different conversation for a different time. But certainly, guys, good to see everybody here tonight on a Friday. Rob Maraska, I'm going with you because I know you got this contest, although I don't think the 70 people that were tweeted for are actually tuning into this, but you've got this contest, but you wanted to share some details before I dive into a lot. I got a lot to talk about. I got baseball news, team moving. I got football news with the Jets. I got football news with the Bills. I got maybe competitive eating talk. I've got NHL to talk about, a lot of hockey stuff. So, Rob Maraska, I'm going with you and talk about the details here at this contest.
Yeah, first contest of the baseball season. It's the Topps Now Juan Soto opening day card. Yankees opening day card, and it's a good looking card.
I'm going to
People
pull it up
are
here on the
asking-
screen. Yep, I'm going to pull it up on the screen in a second. Give me
Okay.
1 second.
Um,
Yeah, you keep talking. Go ahead. I got you.
So it sold out pretty fast. So, there are no more left. I have a couple of them. So I'm going to give one away. We'll announce the winner next week on the show. But I'm getting a lot of DMs on Twitter/X, and I'm getting a lot of people who are interested in this card. So, like I said, I'll pick. There it is.
Want to see the card? Yep, you can do that right there. That's exactly the card. So you got to be here. And we're a little behind time, but if you want to, you'll have a chance. If you're right now listening and watching this, you have that opportunity. So come on down and watch us on Sportswire Radio. But that's the card itself. Let's pull it back up on the screen. Maybe Sad Boy or Alan Michaels now will win the card, and maybe he'll use that for the eating contest. Maybe as a way to fire himself up. I don't know, because Big T, before you came on here, Alan Michaels, he was very confident about this eating contest. He basically said, "Don't show up and don't be there on May 24th." But that's a different conversation. But there's the card itself. It's the Tops Now card, clutch 9th inning assist highlights. That's from his first game last Thursday. So there you have it. It's a pretty card, and we'll have the winner next week. Correct?
Yep, correct.
All right, awesome. There you have it. So that's the card itself. We'll certainly pull this. Maybe we'll put it back up on the screen in a little while. So let's bring everybody in this format. We put the logo back in. But, a couple things here. I'll go with the Mets and Yankees in a second. Yankees lost their home opener. Mets were basically at a catastrophic start, but won a couple games. But let's talk general, because I'm going to certainly work in football, work in hockey. Randy Dillon's going to come back on here. But the news is that the Oakland Athletics are officially moving, and they're staying in the state of California, oddly enough, for 3 years, and they're playing in Sacramento, and they're playing in a minor league stadium. So, what do you make? I see, Chris, you're shaking. I got the Talking Rival show, which we're going to play this weekend because it's been WrestleMania week on Sportswire. The only thing that really matters right now is WrestleMania, but I want to hear what you guys have to say later this weekend. But, what's going on here? The Oakland Athletics are moving into a minor league ballpark, but might actually draw more fans in the minor league ballpark than where they're in currently.
I think it's embarrassing for the league that this has gone on as long as it has. It's pretty sad, but it's only been, I think, 4 years ago that the A's were actually in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how quickly this has gone south. But they've been looking to build a new stadium for how many years now?
Ages.
And Major League Baseball should have stepped in and either forced them. Listen, if you can't get a deal, you guys got to move. You can't just keep playing in a stadium that you're going to have 5,000-6,000 people in, every game. And now who knows how many fans are going to go see them in Sacramento. I mean, I know 14,000 they could hold 14,000, but is 14,000 people going to go see them every game? I mean,
I don't know.
They're a disgrace of a team. I mean, they're a AAA team right now. If you can name 3 guys, good for you.
And didn't they send down somebody that was hitting the first couple of days 429? I mean,
yeah. And the guy had like 60-something stolen bases last year too. So I have no idea what they're doing. It's just pretty sad. Hopefully it works out in Vegas and they get the stadium built and all that, because they still
haven't. Are they even getting the stadium built? That's still they have
right.
to.
That's still up in the air. So
we
who
don't
knows?
know.
And then you got Arizona in the NHL, right? They're playing at
oh my God, we're gonna get to hockey in a little while, because I actually have a lot to say on the NHL. I've actually been following the NHL a lot this week, but. I mean, it's an abomination. You, Rob Maraska, I know you're locked into this, and it's really bizarre that a Major League Baseball team is moving into a minor league stadium, and maybe they'll draw more fans than they're playing in currently, but we're going to have to watch this team play in a stadium that's for 3 years a minor league ballpark, and we still don't know when they're going to play in Las Vegas. I mean, this is just bizarre.
It's a joke. 14,000 people, capacity for a Major League Baseball team, even though they don't draw anything. But let's look at one thing first. Would you want to go to Oakland now to see a baseball game anyway? I mean, Oakland, the city of
Oakland.
If
you want to go, and I guess you could get front row seats for dirt cheap. I guess maybe
look at the area.
Oh, I got a funny joke. This, I'm sure Big T and Alan Michaels will appreciate this. I bet you that you could spend less on a ticket to an Oakland A's game to what we're going to spend on the competitive eating contest.
I'm gonna go crazy.
That's a good one. That was a good one.
So it's a joke. Major League Baseball should be embarrassed. What
But
a
you know,
mess.
I have an interesting take, and this maybe will bring in some of the rest of the guys. I know Joe Dell's got a bunch of comments, but are we going to see this more now? Because there was also some news that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals were looking to get a new stadium in their own right. They were trying to get a sales tax increase, I believe, of some sort, and the voters voted against it this past Tuesday. And you know, is the Kansas City Royals next? I mean, you know, they've been playing their ballpark for 40 years, and the Chiefs, that impacts the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs are looking for, you know, new renovations, new things. And, you know, this was a referendum that was drawn to, you know, increase a sales tax, a portion of it to go to renovations or build a new stadium. And that's not going to happen. So, you know, are we done? Is it now going to be more teams? Because again, we always see this in sports from time to time. You know, the A's are going, and who's next?
NFL stadiums in general, it's kind of hard to persuade a fan base to get a new stadium, because a stadium like Arrowhead's it's a pretty iconic stadium, especially for the Chiefs. It means a lot to the organization, and of course the city. The TSF takes, we're from Tennessee, Nashville. Whenever it switched over from the LP Field to Nissan Stadium, it was kind of a big change. LP Field was iconic in its own right, and now we're getting a new stadium. I feel like there's other things you need to worry about than what stadium we play in, honestly, like the field, the turf.
But Arrowhead's been around a long time. Like you said, Arrowhead goes back. Arrowhead's got to be 50 years old, right? Arrowhead's got to be one of the oldest stadiums. Arrowhead's got to be one of the oldest stadiums. I wouldn't even say in the NFL, but in baseball as well, right? Because I mean, obviously, Wrigley and Fenway are iconic, and I don't see them ever being, replaced as far as I know. But Arrowhead's got to be one of the oldest stadiums other than those two, right? I mean, because Arrowhead's been around for so long. I mean, who else would be around longer? We're talking
Lambeau Field.
Okay, Lambeau. So you got Lambeau. I mean,
yes, sir.
Maybe Soldier Field.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's about to come to an end soon too, man.
Yeah,
Which I'm pretty upset
yeah,
about.
somebody read my mind. So I mean,
I think the bigger problem is that I think the taxpayers are finally saying, no, we're not going to pay for a new stadium or renovations that'll be done. Have the owners do that. Have the figure it out. Why
Well,
should it come out of our pocket?
Well, let me ask you guys a question, right? This is a general question for everybody. Everybody can answer because we're all sports fans, obviously, because we're sports analysts now. We're big-time sports analysts because we have that clip with 30,000 views, and I have a clip on Instagram with like 2,700 views. So working our way up to the TSF Takes boys. But, do you guys want to see your taxpayer money go to new stadiums? I mean, do we want to see that? I mean, I'd be curious. We all are sports fans. Do we feel that if an owner threatens to move our teams, whether it's the Predators in hockey, the Packers in football, Mets, Rob Maraska's, blue in his veins. I mean, Chris Pizzaia's Jet and Yankees, Scooby Stoney's New York. I mean, you're obviously you're getting something with Soldier Field and Big T, and the Lions Stadium's got to be also Silverdome's got to be what used to be the Silverdome, but it's got to be up there too. But do you guys want to see your taxpayer money or taxpayer dollars spent toward new stadiums or your team moves?
No.
What do you guys think on all that?
I would.
We would, and why would you?
Oh, go ahead. My fault. Sorry.
I mean, bigger events coming to the city, more attention being on the city. A new stadium, like the Tennessee Nationals getting a new stadium for the Titans. That's going to bring in, hopefully, in hopes of maybe one day attracting an event like a WrestleMania.
Or TBW going to Nashville.
But it just brings more eyes. And honestly, like Nashville's becoming a big free agency landing spot because of the atmosphere. I mean, you get a new stadium,
They talk about Nashville for Major League Baseball a lot too. It's a place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hot spot, and you want your city to keep building up because you talk about these places like New York and California. It's places where these players want to go.
Right.
So you want them to be like, hey, we got a new stadium, everything's new, it's Nashville, it's a big city, come and party. That's what you're wanting. You're not wanting a boring city, a boring, like, no one wants to go and play for the Milwaukee Bucks because it's always cold in Wisconsin. Nobody wants to go play in Green Bay because it's cold. You want to
Although
market.
Green Bay's got the history in football, though. Green Bay
has the history. But if you play Madden, you play some franchise mode. If you get somebody from Florida, they don't want to come to Green Bay.
Oh, listen, and you know what? And I know half of us are close to half of us are New Yorkers, and the weather in New York has been absolutely abominable of late. I used to be a winter person. Now, give me hot. I'm tired of the winters now. And they drag on. So I understand your point. But what about the rest of you guys? Do you want to pay for new stadiums or no? Tell me why or if you don't.
Personally, go ahead, Big T. Go ahead.
I think it depends on what kind of back to what Rob said. I think it kind of depends on what your city's looking like, man. I mean, if you're a city like Nashville and you can do that because we've kind of got just about everything that a tourist would need at least. I mean, you got all the balls, you got a nice downtown scene. I mean, if you got the extra money like that and you want to put it on a new stadium, that's great. But if you're a city that needs help elsewhere besides sports, like I love sports, man, but at the end of the day, you got to take care of your city first and know that it's a good spot to build a new stadium because you can build a new stadium, but what happens if it doesn't turn out the way you like it, man? I mean, it's just a huge bust.
That is true.
What about the rest of you? Guys, Scooby.
And I hate the fact that it has to come out of our pockets, obviously, but as someone that's been to a lot of Titans games growing up in Tennessee, it really sucks to go to your home games and just your fan base is not that into it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I went through it in hockey with the Islanders. I had season tickets for the Brooklyn run, and it didn't work. It didn't work.
It's not the same. You want to be that place where, well, granted, when I was born, 2000, Tennessee was on their run and they were doing their thing. I'm sure that's the last time people really cared about.
That was McNair,
going
George,
to Titans games.
Coming off the Super Bowl, coming off
2021. You can make an argue with that number one seed they had. You can argue.
Oh, we were good. We were good.
It was still
but like
COVID,
still
COVID
going to
also.
games, like you could just tell because you're talking about all these stadiums that it's an impact playing at their home field because this fan base can get loud. Like we're talking about Arrowhead, Lambeau, these stadiums that have been around for a long time.
Soldier Field.
You don't get anything like that with Tennessee. Tennessee's got to be one of the most just normal places to go in and play a Sunday football game. I mean, that's just
in a football
exactly how there's nothing crazy about it. I mean, maybe something like this can bring people to the games and get them into it because I would like to go to Titans games. I live in Tennessee. I'm a Jets fan, but I grew up a Titans fan. So I would love to go see NFL games in person, but I don't even like going to the home games anymore because you got people behind you. We suck. I don't know how we win any games. You know what I mean?
That reminds me of the experience when I was an Islanders fan and they played in Brooklyn the 4 years.
Yeah.
It was just not a good experience. But, for the rest of you guys, whether it's Chris, DK, I mean, Rob Morosco, I'll come to you because you spoke about it before. But for the rest of you guys, do you want to see your taxpayer dollars go to a new stadium or else your team threatens to leave? What do you guys think on that?
I'm going to say absolutely not.
Tell me why. Tell me. I'm curious.
Because what is a fan? First of all, what does a fan gain out of it, and what does a non-fan gain? Non-fan gains absolutely nothing out of it.
Right.
A fan of the team like myself, I don't gain anything out of it. Just outside of watching the game, maybe going to the game.
Sure.
I mean, I gain nothing financially from it, so I'm going to be paying more money in my taxes every year. For what? Well, what am I gaining? That's the thing.
I understand that.
Who's gaining out of it? The owner's going to gain out of it because he's not taking any money out of his pocket.
For sure.
The stadium.
They want
you
the
know what? Sorry, Chris. You know what? People see how much money the NFL makes, how much money the owners make,
exactly.
the advertising,
and baseball
players.
too. I mean, baseball. Everybody wants the luxury suites in baseball. That's why you got to get these stadiums. Look at the Marlins got a stadium years ago, maybe about. Like 11 or 12 years ago, and the Marlins.
2011, I think.
Why can't all the owners, right, of each league just kind of chip in Like when a team needs to get their stadium renovated, say, okay, it's the Titans. Let's say it's Tennessee. Like it's their turn to get their stadium renovated. Okay, each owner chips in whatever percentage. Boom,
Right.
they get it done.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. You know, for
It
you,
would
guys
be a
can-
lot better for us. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. And then
That's
next
for
year it'd be
sure.
Chicago, the following year Green Bay, whatever.
So,
Yeah.
Rob,
You guys can-
before I come back to DK, where do you fall on this, Rob? I mean, do you want, you
No, but you know what? I agree with Chris too. Really, what does the non-fan get out of it? And you know what? If the owners really, they're making so much money, and the leagues are making so much money, no matter what. I mean, let's put some money aside. Maybe they should put some money aside, a stadium fund, like Chris said, for stadiums that need to be, if they need a new stadium or if they have to just fix up a stadium, what people are struggling now, and they see they have to vote if they're gonna.
Well, I think that's what it is too. Before I get to DK and get to some comments, is that people are looking at it like you're paying a lot of money for food right now. Inflation's up. You can't buy a home right now. Your rent is up. And also politicians who represent these areas, they have to make a decision. Do I fund schools? Do I try to help in fund key services, or do I support a tax increase that could potentially hurt my community further? It's not like you're in 7 years ago when the economy was booming and everything was bustling. We were still getting through COVID. For you, DK, before I say hello to some people, do you want your money to go to stadiums, or how do you fall on this?
I kind of think it depends on the team and the market they have. Because, I mean, in Nashville, like you said,
you guys
Titans aren't really
you're
like
lighting
that.
up right now. You guys are on fire.
Yeah, but as far as like the Titans go, I mean, they're kind of middle of the pack, and they really don't ever make a big push towards the bowl or anything like that. And the team really doesn't have a humongous fan base, and a lot of it has to do with your fan base when it comes to bringing in money. So if they don't really have the money from the fan base, why are we paying? I mean, I'm part of the fan base as well, but why are we paying for them a new stadium when they can't even generate a good fan base to come to all the games?
Sure. I could definitely understand that. Let me first of all say hello to, speaking of management, a guy that can make those decisions, my very, very dear friend, Mr. Jason Storm. And Jason Storm, of course, is in part of the ROEW. We love ROEW here on Sportswire Radio, and I have to cover ROEW very soon, so stay tuned for that. But they've been very generous of their support over the years. And he says, you got the Vince Russo vibe going, and Vince Russo, of course, was a very interesting figure in the world of wrestling. That was about an hour ago on the show, but yeah, I could see that a little bit. But
He threw a dig at you right there. I wouldn't, me personally, I wouldn't stand for.
He may not know Vince Russo that well, so he might look at it as a compliment. You certainly, your back is Alan Michaels. You know a lot about Vince Russo, but you obviously got to be focusing on you're training for the eating contest on May 24th at 10 o'clock. But certainly, Joe Dell's got a couple things. Rob Maraska should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Back when I was a kid, he stepped on my Andre the Giant action figure, said get this damn toy out of my way, picked it up and slammed it. And that was before WrestleMania 3. Well, I have 102 people watching us right now, and they're kind of wondering when that was and how old really is Rob Maraska. But that's a joke for a different time, because we are certainly
That had to be
worried.
before WrestleMania 3 then.
Well, Rob Maraska is still not as old as Uncle Tats, a.k.a. Bobby Tats, who is also one of our presenters on Sportswire Radio, and he basically mumbles his words, and he's got to be about 100 years old, about 108. No, we love Uncle Bobby Tats, but Bobby Tats, of course, is with the Pinstripe Chronicles. But okay, so stadiums, I don't know. I guess stadiums we'll have to see. Oakland, though, moving to Sacramento. General thumbs down for you, Rob and Chris. That's a thumbs down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thumbs down. We'll
For
see.
me,
Obviously,
I mean,
Me too.
yeah.
but they can't stay in Oakland though, right? They can't stay in Oakland.
I don't unless they're going to get a new stadium built there, and I don't know if that's going to get it done.
Now
That's
is
not
Oakland
gonna happen.
now, but even for the rest of the guys here, and I will get to baseball for a few. I want to spend about 5 or 10 minutes on baseball. Then I'm going to work into hockey, and then I'll go into football, and then we'll play around with it. But generally speaking, though, right? Oakland, because Oakland lost the Raiders, Oakland lost the Warriors, technically, right? They're now going to lose the Warriors, the A's, and the Raiders. So Oakland's never going to be a major sports city again. Is that what you guys are telling me, basically, right? For everybody here, Oakland's going to be nothing, right? So what happens to the city of Oakland then? Oakland now loses 3 major sports teams in a span of what? 5 years, 6 years, right? Because the Warriors got a new building in San Francisco not too long ago, right? So what happens to Oakland as a sports city? I'd be curious on that.
I guess they're done, right?
It's empty.
Yeah.
And
Kinda
the
goes to the
3 of those
stadium
are
thing.
Vegas. So Vegas is one of those that we're talking about. That should
Oh,
booming.
we've got. Listen, we certainly are going to have baseball there. We've got the NHL, the Golden Knights are booming. The Raiders and Vegas. But ultimately, I think the story is that Oakland is never going to be a major sports city again, right? Who's going to go to Oakland, right? Because I think it was Rob that talked about, well, it's dangerous there, and it's you don't want to stay there, and it's the stadiums where they are bad. Okay, so the politicians have to fix that, right? So if they're not fixing that and they can't afford to fund these stadiums, then Oakland, I don't know what they become.
It's kind of wild too, because the Oakland Raiders had a diehard fan base. I mean, they were
legendary.
Black and silver, man. But it's a shame.
But even the A's, right? The A's in baseball had a great history. The Raiders in football, right? They came back to Oakland. They actually went from Los Angeles to Oakland, and it didn't work there. What about the Warriors, right? The Warriors left. And the Warriors were in the middle of their run, the greatest run in their franchise's history. And on top of that, in one of the greatest runs in NBA history. And they left.
Not a coincidence, man. That's for sure. Not a coincidence at all.
I mean, it tells you that these cities, they got to do something. I understand that people don't want to put their taxpayer dollars to these things, but there has to be some balance. I don't know what the answer is. But the Oakland just lost 3 professional sports teams, and you have to do something. I don't know what the answer is, but we'll certainly talk about it, I'm sure. But again, the news is the A's will be playing in Sacramento in a minor league stadium for the next 3 years. I thought I saw it all when the Expos played in Puerto Rico those 2 years, but now we're going to see the A's, and the A's have trademarked the Sacramento A's. But, let me get to baseball for a few minutes, and I want to come into the NHL, and I want to get to football. A lot of football news, by the way. But, Mets and Yankees, certainly Rob Moroska, Mets got a win tonight. I don't know who actually watched the game, but Mets, it looked like, well, you found a way, I'm sure, to get Apple TV. And
I have Apple TV, yeah.
Oh, there you go. So the point is that somebody has Apple TV. I didn't have Apple TV. I was watching SmackDown. I'm sure Alan Michaels was probably doing the same thing that I was. But, Mets get a couple wins. It looked like everybody was ready to jump off the Verrazano Bridge, and maybe people felt an earthquake yesterday if the Mets would have lost, but there was actually an earthquake here in the New York tri-state area. But maybe the Mets have created their own mini earthquake, as we have 106 people of our own watching us who have their own earthquake and watching Sportswire Radio. But Mets get back on track, win a couple of games in a row. I guess all is well after all for the Mets.
Yeah, they're still not really hitting. The pitching is better than I expected, but they're not hitting, and it's just like an extension of last season so far with the hitting. Diaz came in tonight, got his first save of the year. He looks pretty good. He gave up a run, but he made an error, so that's why. But other than that, he was fine. Quintana's looking pretty decent, but the Mets are not hitting. Jeff McNeil hit his first home run of the season.
Alonso hit one yesterday to tie it. It was Tyrone Taylor, I think, that won it yesterday with the down the left field line, got the single, and they're not hitting. No. Lindor, what is Lindor right now? Like 2 for 80?
Yeah, 13 innings without a hit. I mean, they were almost no hit yesterday by the Detroit Tigers. Something's got to go on.
In the eighth innings, the Mets got the hit, and then they won it. Alonso ties it, and like I said, Taylor wins it. And today they struggled offensively.
They struggled, and they signed Julio Teheran, but that's another signing of someone whose better days are behind them. He was excellent with the Atlanta Braves, but the Mets are just.
But he was what in the Mexican League? I think not too long ago, and we had. I think he was here in Staten Island actually. I think, if I'm not mistaken, a brief stint with the Ferry Hawks. Now they're called.
That's right.
They're called the Ferry Hawks. Yes, they used to be the Staten Island Yankees, but they became an independent affiliate, and they're called the Ferry Hawks. Yes,
Yeah.
people on Staten Island changed the name from the Yankees to the Ferry Hawks. There was a contest because the Yankees left Staten Island. They decided to call them the Ferry Hawks. They were probably better off calling them the Turkeys because Staten Island, for those that don't know, has a massive turkey problem. Maybe the Staten Island Turkeys would have been better. Maybe it would have drew more fans because you could probably have more turkeys that would probably be in attendance than actual people. But that's a joke that I'm sure that people around the world are like, what is he saying? But the Staten Island has a major turkey problem. That's speaking of politicians. That we talked about politicians doing nothing for their cities and stadiums. Our politicians here on Staten Island, Democrat and Republican, have not been able to do anything about it. But different conversation for a different show. But yeah, Julio Teheran, that's his story, Rob Morosco. But the Mets, is it JD Martinez until he comes back, the lineup improves, or what?
Well, hopefully when he comes, he went 0 for 4 tonight in Syracuse, I think it was St. Lucie actually.
Yep.
So
our buddy Ernest Dove. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. He's gonna hit. He's professional, even though he's up there too. That'll put a little more pop in the lineup. But
gotta help Lindor right now. Lindor to me is just, oh my goodness. Met fans are having a heart attack right now.
Yeah. Brett Beatty, his fielding has, he had a good night in the field today. He made a couple of excellent plays, so his fielding's coming around. He's got a couple of hits the past couple of games, so hopefully he's gonna do better. But I just have I have a question. What was the purpose besides maybe David Stern wanting to have control? Why did they get rid of Buck? Really? Why? For Carlos Mendoza? I don't understand that. Why are they paying one more year of Buck's contract, getting rid of him? Anytime the Mets have these new managers, it never works out when the guy is brand new to managing. I know he was an excellent bench coach with the Yankees, but we saw what happened in the past when the past 6 years, in fact, except for Buck's years, what happens when the Mets have rookie managers.
Well, you had Buck for 1 year, had one good year, and then you really struggled since then. Terry Collins was here for a while. He had a couple years. Terry Collins took him to the World Series playoffs next year. But, yeah, it's a franchise that, has never had stability. It's like, if you're a fan of the NFL, right, you look at the teams right now that are great, right? The Chiefs have stability. The Steelers have stability right now. San Francisco has stability, right? New England had stability. You look at the teams, Green Bay for a long time had stability with McCarthy, although, Dallas hasn't, but they still can't win a playoff game. McDermott in Buffalo, although they're going to, I'm sure, drop down. But, you look in sports, right? And we're going to get to the NFL. I promise you're going to get to the NFL. But, when you look in sports, you got to have stability. And the Mets haven't had stability. I think that's really the bottom line is that,
Even with the players, guys, think about how different this team is going to be next season.
Absolutely.
From this team. I mean, this is going to be a totally different team next year.
Pete Alonso may not be on this team. I mean, JD Martinez.
Lindor, Diaz will definitely be here. And Nimmo.
Senga, probably.
Senga.
And Senga, yes.
Bullpen guys aren't going to be here. A lot of these bullpen guys are stopgaps. I think McNeil, right? McNeil's a free agent after the season?
No, I think McNeil's got another year or two left.
Yeah. But
Alvarez will be here.
Who knows? He might not be.
Marte's a free agent, I know for sure, right? Marte's a free agent. I mean, so a lot of these guys, okay, you got Nimmo. Nimmo's going to be here. But, yeah, it's a team that doesn't have stability. It's a franchise that's never been able to find stability. I mean, like I said, Terry Collins was okay. You had him for 6 years, or 7 years. He was here for 2012 to 18. Okay, fine. Bobby Valentine was here a while, but that's eons ago. But,
and Davey Johnson, even eons.
But that's like when you were alive. The rest of us, don't even really have any recollection of that. But
Chris was alive.
All right, Chris was alive. But
yes, I was alive for that.
I think that's the point. The Mets have to figure it out. Chris, conversely, I want to get to the Yankees and I want to get to some other things here in the interest of time. As we're here with all of the gang here on Sportzwire Radio. First, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. 112 people right now watching us. I want to say thank you. And if you're out there watching, please go hit us on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. Check us out below, sportswireradio.org. And if you're on Twitter, give a follow, TSF Takes, R. Maraska, CP7NY, _ Tier 10L, Scooby Stoney, also myself. Make sure you hit that follow, that sub, that like, whatever it is. Chris, Yankees got off conversely to the other end of a great start, but now, Yankees lose at home. But again, it's still early. I can't, even Rob Maraska telling me Mets can't hit, I can't get on these teams, for being 5-2 or 2-5. And, give me your thoughts on, again, disappointing, to lose at home in a winter like start to the season here at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, definitely. It was horrible. And the big excitement, obviously, Juan Soto playing his first home game, opening day at Yankee Stadium, and to lay an egg, losing 3-0, horrible performance by the offense. Couldn't get anything going. Pitching was great. Stroman again, 6 innings, no runs. But the offense just hasn't gotten going like a consistent, like you got Judge. He had his big game against the D-backs in the last game, but before that, he was not great. And today he wasn't great. Stanton is just a complete mess. And we've seen this already for over a year now. So, I mean, I can't see him playing more than against left-handers at this point. He's just horrible, and he was hitting against a left-hander today, and he just looked awful. So, but listen, like you said, it's early. This lineup is loaded. It'll be fine. It's just a matter of getting guys back. Obviously, Cole, hopefully in June or whenever hell he's going to get back. And the bullpen guys, Loizaga is out for 2 months now, but I think they'll be fine. Like you said, it's early. It's a different situation than the Mets saying that it's early. There's obviously more pressure on the Yankees to win.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Mets, it was like, all right, let's see what we could do with these guys, and we're gonna, sign a bunch of guys next offseason.
Yeah, I don't think the Mets are really like. I don't think the Mets are that great. I gotta be honest. I don't think the starting pitching is that good. I think the lineup's a question mark. The bullpen could be good, but realistically, they got to help everything works
Everything
in their favor.
To be perfect for them.
Exactly. And I don't know if they are. I don't know if this team is.
Yeah.
I don't.
I just don't understand the direction. I'll be honest. Right before, I understood not signing guys, and you go with the young kids. I get that, but then they don't let Vientos play. Yeah. Right? Let him play. Let's see what he's got. You're doing that. Like with Beatty, right? You're trying to figure out with Beatty. Alvarez looks like he's going to be a star. So, yeah, okay, you're locked in with him. I would even think about.
But even Alvarez, you waited for a while to bring him up. That was Met fans wanted him up for a year, and they finally bring him up. Okay, fine. Now he's a part of the roster. But, yeah, the Mets, I don't know, what the direction
is. In flux right now. Like, I don't know what they're doing.
And I think that's kind of where the team is. I think the team is, they're a middle-of-the-pack team. To me, they're the definition. We took it in NFL, right? We always use the term purgatory, right? To me, purgatory means you're not the worst, you're not the best. And the Mets in baseball are kind of like baseball's definition of purgatory. They're middle of the road. They could be 78 and 84 or 84 and 78. And that's,
right.
They're not anything.
Right in that.
Middle of the pack. And, and looking at baseball right now, Tigers are off to a great start, by the way. Guardians are playing well early. Yankees, Orioles, Patrick Trotty's Red Sox are off to a good start. White Sox and A's predictably are, two of the worst teams. And the Marlins, I think that's the one to me I'm looking at right now. The Marlins are 0-8. The Marlins, who we know lost some guys. I mean, they look really bad right now. And, that they could be in for a long season. I think everybody else, I mean, it's still early. I ain't going to get, the Mets were 0-7. I think, Rob Maraska we need to call the coroner for Rob Maraska. If the Mets were 0-7. Now, if they were 0-7, I got to be honest, you were coming on this show and, we were going to be calling the coroner for you. So, but that's, good news on that. But it's early. I always look at baseball and, I hate to say it, it's Memorial Day weekend for me. Okay, now I really look at the standings. Now we're looking at it, but I think you don't want to be blown out, by May 1st. But, I think that's kind of where we are. But, other stories, Brewers are off to a good start. Pirates are off to another good start. But again, it's very early in the season. Dodgers, what we knew. And everybody else is kind of where the Mets are between 2-6, 4-4, 2-5. And, that's kind of where we are. But, obviously we are on Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and we're alongside here with a number of guys talking pretty much everything here. We'll talk the NHL in a few minutes. Maybe I'll go to the football first because Randy Dillon, I'm going to let him come on. in a few minutes, but there is some news to talk about there. And I'm joined by Chris Bizet of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals, Big T, who declares himself the first ever Sportswire Radio competitive eating champion, May 24 at 10 p.m. In fact, my mother actually said she wants to watch. So I had 3 other people said they want to tune in and watch this eating contest. Rob Maraska, contest man. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of people for that. Contest man. Got the Juan Soto card. We'll put that up on the screen before we go. Scooby Stoney of the TSF Takes, DK of the TSF Takes, and a guy that used to be Sad Boy, but he's back as Alan Michaels, and that's who he is. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here. All sports matters. I think I'm going to hold off on the NFL for a second because we're going to do about 10 minutes of the NHL. Then we'll come back into the NFL. But Randy Dillon's going to join us here because we actually have some news and notes on the NHL. So I actually want to get to that here. So before Randy comes on here, it's interesting because, the Nashville Predators had got off to this amazing run when you guys came onto the platform, and then they cooled off, and now that they're kind of maybe trying to get their wheels back in. And DK, that's why you come into play, because the New York Islanders are actually fighting for their playoff lives, and they draw the Nashville Predators tomorrow. So I kind of find it so interesting now, this NHL playoff race, because you've got the Rangers and Carolina. Carolina gets a big win, and they're chasing the Rangers. You got the Stars, the Avalanche, and the Jets. Jets looked great yesterday. You got Vegas in the other division in the West. And then you got, this Atlantic Division juggernaut, and it could be maybe a Florida all matchup in the first round. So, DK, what am I expecting in the Islanders and Predators tomorrow? And, some of the other stories as I bring in Randy Dillon back for us for a few minutes.
I'd say Nashville's still trying to, for sure lock in their playoff spot. And the Islanders are looking to, creep their way.
They might, for a team that really had no business of being in this position. They were in a playoff spot about 3 weeks ago, and then they had a slot. What was it, 0-5-1, and they've come back and they've kind of snuck back in the door, and they're actually now in 3rd in the Metropolitan Division. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and Randy Dillon's going to come in here and want to kill me now, literally almost like wrestling. Want to give me throw me out of a battle royal here for that, but. Both teams, it's a big game tomorrow for both teams, DK, Predators and Islanders.
It is, and I think Nashville comes out hot. They usually like to finish strong too as well, but they're kind of in a win-now situation if they really want to lock in. I mean, they had the 18-game streak. They took 3 back-to-back losses. Obviously, they're going to want to try to get, like you said, the wheels back under them. They got the one against the Blues a couple nights ago. I got the back-to-backs this weekend, and I think they start off strong and take the win tomorrow.
Well, we'll see. Islanders back at home. Islanders got a big win yesterday in Columbus. They beat Chicago, beat Florida last week, and that's where I'll bring in Scooby in a second, because the Islanders are actually their playoff chase is going to be impacted by the New York Rangers, because we get them twice coming up here in the next few days. But Randy Dillon, the Washington Capitals were in a playoff spot. They're out of it, and they had a lead in Carolina and lost it in the 3rd period. So, what are you expecting here? We haven't spoke hockey in a while, but I think it's a good time. We'll get to the NFL toward the end of the show. But, what do you make of this scramble here, especially in the Eastern Conference? I think in the West, I still think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, the 8 teams. But in the East, you got a bunch of teams fighting really for 2 spots. You got Detroit, who lost also, by the way. Thank you, Scooby, for that, by the way. Really appreciate you on that. Hopefully you do me a favor by losing twice to the Islanders coming up here. But you got the Red Wings, who, again, have also sputtered. You got Philadelphia, who sputtered. You got Washington, who sputtered. The Islanders have kind of come back in it. And the wild card team, who the Islanders have to end the season, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, Randy, what do you make of all this?
Simple as this, Tom. Whoever wins will make the playoffs, because you mentioned it. The Red Wings, the Red Wings and the Flyers the last number of weeks have just been god awful. I think the Flyers, 3 wins the last 12, 13 games.
Yeah,
Red
Flyers
Wings,
have just
same thing. The Capitals now dropping 5 in a row, and just some horrendous hockey I watched today. But the Island and the Penguins are doing what they need to do. They're winning their games when.
But that game's that may well decide it. That last game of the season, that last one.
The Islanders, I think, have the biggest strength in all these teams is the goaltending. They have the strongest goaltending. The Penguins, they have Sidney Crosby, getting Malcolm, and Crosby carrying them back. The Red Wings, Capitals, and Flyers, they just gotta find something to put their heads on because they have just played horrific hockey. Either they're relying on their goaltending, or their team just can't figure out how to put a full 60-minute effort together. And if they can't do that, I could easily see the Islanders and the Penguins being in those final two spots come the next 2 weeks.
And the Capitals play the Red Wings coming up on Tuesday. I mean, that's going to be a huge matchup. And you've got the Lightning and you've got the Flyers to end the season. I mean, those games could dictate it as well because realistically, one of those teams is going to be eliminated. You would have to think. I mean, the Capitals control their own destiny, but you've got basically teams that will be eliminated off those games. I mean,
next 2 weeks especially for the Capitals, I would say next 3-4 games are just crucial for them. Where they got the Senators,
you got to win the Senators. You got to beat Ottawa.
Like they got blown out early in the week against the Sabres, which was an awful game. And if you don't win, I think the next 2 games, I think the Capitals are done. They have to win both games.
Well, you got Detroit, so you have to beat Detroit. So obviously
you have to beat Detroit and you have to beat Ottawa. If you can't win both those games, I think they're going to fall. They're going to keep sliding then.
And, for you, Scooby, obviously you're the Ranger guy here, and I'll come back to Chris, and we'll spend a few more minutes on the answer, then we'll come into football. I'm trying to work everything in here. But, Rangers are going to win the division. Obviously, looks like they're going to, but they're really chasing Boston now for the President's Trophy. And, Brad Marchand scores his 400th goal as a Boston Bruin. Yes, that's an amazing milestone. Pasternak has 47 goals this year. So Boston, every year, they say, Boston's going to drop off here. In Boston, here they are. Once again first, but we know what happened last year in the playoffs with them. But, for you, Scooby, what are you looking for? And the Islanders, who, by the way, have struggled against the Rangers lately the last couple of years, draw them twice in the next few games. I mean, that's going to me, decide the Islanders there in a sense.
Yeah, not only the 2 Rangers matchups that you said, but you said Pittsburgh. They end with Pittsburgh and then Nashville. I mean, that's just
Nashville's tomorrow night. You got Nashville tomorrow night. You got Pittsburgh to end the season. You have it's essentially a home and home with the Rangers. So you have those games right there that that's it. That's the season. You have only 6 left.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's for the situation that they're in. That's a tough list of teams to draw right there at the end because they can get hot so quick. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything in those Rangers games, man. I'm not expecting the Rangers games to be any close. So,
and I will say the good news is for the Islanders, Pittsburgh schedule, by the way, very tough. They've got Tampa Bay, who's been red hot. Randy, they have come on in the second half. They've been hot, and they had a big win. They won a back-to-back this week. They've been great. Stamkos had 2 goals, I think, in Ottawa yesterday. They've got Toronto, who, in Toronto, okay. You have Detroit, again, depends on how you catch Detroit. You got Boston chasing for the President's Trophy, and you got DK's Nashville Predators. So hopefully, DK, you come through with a win for us next Monday. And you got the Islanders to close the season. So I'm counting on you, DK. I'm counting on you coming up next week. But, Chris, as a fellow Islander fan, I don't know if this team really deserves it, but they are kind of gelling maybe. They've won 3 in a row here. And, Horvat's starting to look good. Barzell's been pretty good for most of the year. Dobson gets a big goal yesterday. Sorokin played pretty well. It was a good third period he had. And, Kyle Palmieri's come on late. He's got 25 goals. Islander fans were dogging him early in the year, but he's got 25 goals. And is this team going to make the playoffs? I mean, I'm kind of thinking that they might just sneak in kind of like last year where they snuck in last year. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they've been so inconsistent this year, right? They get hot and then they get cold, hot and cold. Right now they're playing hot. If they could continue this, yeah, they'll definitely make the playoffs. My problem is, do I want the Islanders to make the playoffs and then have to deal with the Rangers in the first round?
Well, right now we get Carolina, right? The way it stands, because we're in third now, we get Carolina, which is not a great matchup for us either, because we played them last year and they beat us in the regular season so far pretty handily.
Either way, do you want to make the playoffs just to get knocked out in the first round?
Well, Islander fans, Isles Twitter, you know what they want. They want playoffs. Playoffs is like Stanley Cup for Isles Twitter. They want to be in the playoffs. And I understand it because, we're all sports fans, right? Whether NFL, Rob Moroska's a Mets fan, right? If Mets make the playoffs and even if they get swept like 2 years ago, we're in the playoffs. So, it's
I know. It stinks.
You want to make the playoffs. You want to get in. I thought about it this morning. You're in the playoffs, though. You're in, but the Islanders are not a Stanley Cup. I think of all these teams that make it, you got Randy's Capitals, you got the Flyers, you got us, you got Pittsburgh. Of all these teams,
Yeah, none of them are Stanley Cup contenders.
No,
right?
none of them are really.
The top four. You got to go with the top four: Rangers, Boston, Carolina, Florida.
Yeah.
After that, you start saying, all right, maybe, maybe Tampa's got one more run in them. Toronto, we know how Toronto ends up.
The only thing I'll say, and I want to thank everybody. We got 117 people right now, so a lot of people, even more people are watching us. But what I do want to say is, Tampa's getting hot at the right time. They're a veteran team. Maybe, like you said, one more run. Kucherov, what a year Kucherov has had, guys, by the way. Kucherov, he might win the Hart this year. I mean, that's, you have the goalie, you have the offense. I mean, maybe they catch Florida if that's the matchup. They have, I think they're 2 points behind Toronto, and they have a game in hand. Toronto have the game in hand, I think.
Toronto has the game in hand.
Yeah, Toronto has the game in hand. Okay, but if you're the Islanders, if you're the Capitals, I mean, look, if you're the Capitals or the Red Wings, I think you want to make the playoffs. Red Wings haven't been there in a while. Penguins, I don't really think the Penguins are going anywhere. Philadelphia, I think it's a major collapse to miss the playoffs. You had a great, pretty much first 50-plus games of the season. You've struggled the last month and a half, right? That's a fair thing to say, Randy. And, the Islanders are kind of, they're kind of like, they're not, this is what they are. This is what the Islanders have been pretty much, not a Stanley Cup team, not a threat, but,
But Tom, I'll say this much for the Islanders. They have the goalie that could steal that series in Sorokin out of all things.
Yeah.
That's the one wild card they have.
And I want to bring up Joe Dell. Joe Dell would like to say, I wish our Mets were doing as good as my Rangers. Well, it's still early with the Mets. It's still the Mets got 2 wins.
Listen, you can't get greedy here.
Well, Joe Dell, he's Jet Met Rangers. I mean, he's all he knows is losing. I mean, he's like,
right.
All he knows is losing. I mean, so it's tough. Listen, it's tough. But
he's he's a Ranger fan.
Is he though? He's won one Stanley Cup in his lifetime.
Right. There you go.
One. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, Randy,
better than nothing.
Right, there you go.
We'll get to football in a couple of minutes, and I'll wrap up a few things here in the NHL. But look, they have the goalie to steal a series, but do you look at that team on paper and say, can they go up? Can they beat the Rangers? Could they beat Boston, or could they beat Carolina? That's their 3 likely opponents. Could they beat any of those teams?
I don't think so.
And that's your answer.
I don't think so either.
There you go. I mean,
how many late late leads did they lose?
Oh my goodness! How many overtime games they lost?
But how much was that under Lambert and under Patrick Waugh? I think under Patrick Waugh they haven't lost many late games. Under Lane Lambert, they were blowing lead. The one thing with Boston, I'm going to say is this team has had a great regular season. I'm very interested to see how they do when they get in the playoff when they don't have Bergeron and Krejci, because then you're playing the matchup. Do they have the depth that can go in a 7-game series?
It's true.
I guess the one defense you would say is that since Waugh took over the job, the Islanders have been a lot better defensively. Defensively, they've been tighter in games. Yeah. They've played, they came from behind against Chicago in the third period. They haven't blown as many leads. I mean, from, that standpoint, I think they've been a better team. But do you look at this team collectively, though? You look at them collectively. Could they really win a series? And again, all these teams, none of them impress me, these teams in the East.
If they can at least split against the Rangers, right?
If they split against the Rangers,
I'll feel better. Because then I'll be like, you know what? They put a little bit of doubt in the Rangers' minds. Like if the Rangers sweep us going into the playoffs, they're going to have so much confidence. And if they play us,
if the Rangers win these 2 against the Islanders, I don't think the Islanders are making the playoffs. I got to be honest.
Exactly.
That's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it for 2 games for potentially a big energy boost for the Rangers, because we all know they're a team that gets so hot whenever they're on. So if they could win these 2 versus the Islanders, then it would be great going into playoffs. Hopefully get the goalies going, because like you said, with the Islanders, I mean, we got 2 great goalies in New York on the Rangers. So I think if you can get those guys hot, we can make these games not close. It would be a huge energy boost going into Because I mean, you got to remember last year the Rangers got bounced first round of the playoffs by the
That's
Devils.
New Jersey, yeah.
So
Yep.
I mean, we're not even going to talk about the Devils. I'm glad that ended up the way.
Well,
it
That
did.
can't
Randy
happen.
had the unfortunate. He had the unfortunate, and I will come to football in about 2 minutes. But Randy had the unfortunate to actually interview one of our podcasters and presenters on our station, Neil Villapiano, who's a New Jersey Devils fan, and Randy had the unfortunate job to do that actually, which you'll hear Monday on Sportswire. So yeah.
I don't say Neil. It's always a pleasure talking to Neil.
Neil is great. I mean, Neil is one, and Neil's
Talking about the Devils, yeah, it was unfortunate.
So the Devils was the unfortunate part. Neil is great. I mean, Neil is got a great following, but yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I just look at these teams. I mean, for the hockey guys here, of these teams in the East, and I'll go to the West shortly, and then I'll let Randy bounce in a minute. But is there one of these? There's 2 spots. Who do you think gets them? You got the 3rd spot, obviously in the Metro, and you got wild card 2. Of these teams, Detroit, Washington, Pittsburgh now, the Islanders, and Philadelphia. Who do you think gets these 2 spots? It's 5 teams for 2 spots. Who do you all, the hockey guys, who do you think gets it?
I think Pittsburgh gets one.
Because Pittsburgh's the hottest one right now, right?
I'm not 100% on that, but I just feel like they got the older veteran group going right now, and they're kind of this could be our last hoorah kind of run. So I feel like
they're hot right now.
They're playing good too.
Okay, and the rest for the hockey guys, who do you think gets the other spot?
I think Washington can still pull it off. I know I'm a little biased here, but I think.
And Ovechkin 2 goals tonight.
Ovechkin, he's heating up. I think they getting Charlie Lindgren some rest might help, but they gotta play better. But I think they can pull it up just because they still have that one game in hand. But if they don't start winning, I don't think so. Like Philadelphia, I don't know what's going on. Detroit, they keep shooting themselves in the foot. The Islanders, I think, but hearing their schedule, it just sounds like it's going to be a tough. Can they?
I think Nashville. You got Nashville tomorrow. You got the Rangers twice. You got the Devils, and you got Pittsburgh. I mean,
and something with those Islanders. If they do pick up some of these big games late in the season, and they come in as a wild card, you got to remember last year Florida as a wild card too made it all the way. And they beat 3 of the best teams who nobody thought Florida was going to beat.
And the only thing I'll say, the Islanders made it last year. They were literally in this spot last year. I think last year's team was a little better in terms of how they gelled, but they're in the same spot. I mean, I don't know. Schedule, you struggled against the Rangers. You got to win 1 of the 2 against the Rangers. Really, you got to win, I think, 4 of the 6 if you're the Islanders. But you're in the spot. I mean, I think Detroit's finished. I think Philadelphia's finished. I'm gonna say, call me crazy. I'm gonna say the Islanders get 1 spot and Washington gets the other because Pittsburgh's schedule's bad too. No, only because Pittsburgh's got Tampa, Toronto, Boston, and Nashville.
And Philly has Columbus, Montreal, the Rangers, the Devils, and then they finish with Washington. So that might decide it. Imagine if that game decides.
I think it's going to come down to that last game. I
hope it does.
I don't like Philadelphia the way they're playing right now. I mean, we'll talk about it on next week. We'll work in some NHL. I mean, but I don't know. I Philadelphia, and for any of you guys on the West, anything on the seedings change a little bit? Anybody thinks anything changes on the Western Conference before we move on to a few things in the NFL? And we want to thank everybody for the continued 120 people now. So people like what we're doing. So always good to know. But on the West, anything you guys see there changing? Dallas, Colorado, maybe?
I don't see things changing in the West, but the Vancouver Canucks are interesting because the last few games against tough playoff teams, you look at their game against Vegas early in the week. I think they had LA a little bit while ago. They've just been struggling against these playoff teams, and it's not a good thing going into playoffs, how they're playing against these potential opponents.
But you think they're 5 points ahead of Edmonton, though? Yeah, obviously Edmonton's got the game in hand, but you feel good about that.
I think if they just gotta go 500 pretty much.
You don't think Colorado could pass Dallas?
They could possibly, but Dallas is hot right now.
But Colorado's it just needs to get in because if they're healthy this year. If they're healthy this year, Colorado, is a lot of people feel good about them. And I think pretty much the Kings are in the last spot. It could change. The Golden Knights, it's between them and they could jockey for third. I mean, St. Louis is alive, but I don't think they're going on. But I think we're all in agreement that the top 8 is pretty much going to be where it is. And before I let Randy say sayonara, Joe Dell says he misses Davy Johnson, and he says Rob Maraska is the only one alive during Casey Stengel. So that's Casey Stengel. Probably was, right? But okay, but
Chris
Randy
was.
there you go.
Davy Johnson, yes.
Well, I'm gonna get to NFL for a few minutes, but Randy, anything else you want to add on hockey? Now, I'll have you back on for more hockey next week because we have, hockey's gonna be back on to Sportswire because the Islanders are in it now. So I have
Thanks,
to
Tom.
work them-
Just hockey. I just
No.
checked the scores. I know Edmonton with a big win over Colorado today. So that will be in Colorado has 5 games where Dallas has 6. So we'll see there.
Yep,
And then
the game in hand. Yeah,
tomorrow will be interesting in the West standings because Edmonton got their rival Calgary, who hasn't been good.
Calgary's eliminated from the playoffs.
Vancouver, the Kings, a team they've struggled with. So tomorrow will be a big night for these because the gap could close to 3 points potentially.
And 2 other things real quick. Vancouver returns to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And Buffalo has now been out of the postseason for 13 years. So we talk about the Jets. We're going to get to the Jets in a minute. But the Jets have been out of the playoffs in football since 2010. The Buffalo Sabres have their own playoff drought, and the Arizona Coyotes, I think, are a year behind them. So, I mean, some teams that are really struggling out there in the world. Buffalo is definitely the epitome of NHL purgatory. So that's good stuff there. And Randy, good to see you here as always. I'll see you Monday night after Raw and Friday for double combo. Randy, you're pulling.
Thanks, Tom. Always a pleasure, guys.
In the Capital shirt, so you pull double duty. So we'll give you a raise after we're off the air.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
I'll see you, Randy. All right, so obviously we'll go here in the interest of time. Some NFL news, and for the NFL guys like Alan Michaels and Big T, I mean, are we seeing a team maybe moving in a different direction, and one team being the Buffalo Bills and the other the Houston Texans? And what did you make of that big trade here earlier this week?
So it's going to be a little bit of a boiling hot take here.
Oh boy.
Staying trendy here, huh?
Let's hear it.
I think this does more damage to the Texans than good. In my
Wait. Why?
Stephon Diggs
Tell me why.
is such a bad teammate, man. He is such a bad teammate. He's a bad
Did
example.
he do you wrong in fantasy? Is that the problem, Alan Michaels?
No, I mean
So bad that he's one of the best receivers.
pull up the stats right now. Keenan Allen played.
You're giving Big T ammo for the eating contest on May 24th.
Keenan Allen played 13 games last year, had more receptions and yards than Diggs did. When it comes up in big situations in Buffalo over the past couple seasons, he hasn't shown up. I mean, he really hasn't. In the postseason, he's been really quiet, and off the field, he talks trash. I mean, you sit there and talk trash about your quarterback. I mean, was that showing an example for the rest of the
Well, there
league,
was an issue there, right, between them after the Jet game, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? Wasn't there an issue with them?
Diggs has always been a diva. I mean, even when he was in Minnesota, he's always been. I mean, some of the best guys are divas. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. But like, Mikey, I have a serious question.
Uh-oh.
I mean, if we're saying this is going to hurt the Texans, we're going to assume they're going to do worse than they did last year. And if you don't think the Texans win this division after this offseason that they've had, I got to know who you think is going to win the division, because at this point, I'm looking at who's going to come second. I'm not looking at who's going to, because this is such a big offseason for the Texans, man. I mean, the South is shaking.
I mean, Jacksonville had dropped in the second half. We spoke about Tennessee earlier in the show, right?
They made a lot of moves. Tennessee's made a lot of moves.
And then you've got the Colts who, had injuries at quarterback, and where did they fall in? But the Texans get a guy who had over 100 catches last year, and Alan Michaels, Mr. Staying Trendy, right? Are you preparing for the Staying Trendy show to return, maybe? Is that what it is? And you're telling us that they get a player who was one of the better ones statistically, but they're actually worse from this. I mean,
I just don't think he's a gel in that offense. I think he's a complaint about the amount of receptions he's going to get, because he's having to spread the ball out between, 4 really, really talented targets. And on top of that, they just got Joe Mixon, so as it opened up the running game a lot more. I just don't feel like it's going to gel. I feel like it's just not going to be a compatible offense, at least the first half of the season. Now, the second half of the season, they might be able to put it together and make a run, but I think it's going to be a rough first half of the season for Stephon Diggs.
And
what do you
say?
say?
And you know what? This is also a free agent year for him, right? Because they got rid of all those, they canceled all those other years of his contract. So he's going to want He's
Yep.
going to want to get 100 catches, but I don't think he's going to have 100 catches in this offense.
No,
That's true.
You got
He's gonna
Tank Dell,
complain.
you got Nico
Yeah.
Collins now. Those guys played great last year.
Big T, what do you think on this? You let Allen Michaels have the salvos. I mean, what do you say, Big T? What do you say?
I'm gonna
Big
go the
T?
complete opposite of what Mikey said.
Oh, good. I'm loving this. This is
I think
basically
that
shots fired
this
for
is
eating
gonna.
contest. What
I
do you
think this
say,
is
Big
gonna solidify the Texans being number one. Obviously, can you guys hear me?
Now I hear you. I just heard you.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's just going to solidify the Texans, man. I mean, if people already didn't think that they were going to win the division, which me going in, I obviously thought before the Diggs trade that the Texans were going to have a chance to win the division. I think this being the case, if I had to give that division an order it goes in, I'm going to say the Texans probably finish with anywhere from 11 to 12 wins, top of the division. I'll go Indianapolis fully healthy, finishing second in the division, Tennessee finishing third, and Jacksonville finishing last in the AFC.
Wow. So you're
Wow.
down on Jacksonville then.
I mean, it's not crazy to say though. I mean, you look at them. I mean, Jacksonville. That was supposed to be their year last year. And
Did anybody now? I think we spoke about this on a few weeks ago that there was a comparison statistically of Trevor Lawrence to Daniel Jones.
I don't know about that one because we talked about the Urban Meyer situation, but yeah, we'll not get back into that.
Okay,
But
fair enough. Fair enough.
Urban Meyer, I mean, I
But
don't.
wouldn't it then be, that the AFC South all of a sudden now is a much improved division? Then I think was it
Definitely.
that's a fair
Very
statement.
tough division. Oh yeah.
That division was one of the weaker ones, is now one of the better ones. So let me ask you then this, Big T. With a move like that, you say Houston can be a 12-win football team. Does that put Houston as, I don't want to say a Super Bowl contender, but a borderline elite AFC team based on that?
Without a doubt.
I agree, but I don't think that I think that they're definitely gonna need some help on the defense. I got to see how. I'm pretty sure it's Daniel Hunter, right? That they got in the offseason, Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson. So I'm gonna have to see how these guys impact the defense. Which me personally, I think that they're gonna play great. You still got Stingley. I think that they can definitely make a huge push. In my eyes, I think they can compete with just about any team in the AFC.
Now, you were shaking your head, Alan Michaels. Certainly, you're warming up for more hot takes, so you want to stay trendy. But, you tell me why you're changing lanes here, to quote your new single.
I'm gonna guarantee it now. The Titans are gonna dog walk the Texans 1 out of the 2 games next year. I can already see it now. They're just gonna dog walk them. I call it right now.
Do you want to go on record and saying that maybe the Texans missed the playoffs? That's how confident you are?
Oh no. They're gonna
You
make the
wanted a
playoffs.
hot take. I wanted to give you a hot take.
I mean, the Texans being number 1 in the AFC South is like being the biggest turd in the toilet bowl, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Will that be
Wow.
like after
You know.
you in the eating contest, after you eat all those hamburgers?
I'm gonna need to pick up some toilet paper.
I'm
for
working
sure.
on stand-up comedy in case this doesn't work out, in case you noticed.
But I just don't think it's gonna best that well as people think.
So
honestly.
now let me go to the Bills site and spend a few minutes. Obviously, I know we're going to close the show soon. I know Rob Maraska. I'll get Rob Maraska one thought on the base, but I got to get him in there because he's you got to get him in there. When I get him in there, I'm trying to get everybody in the show. But DK I guess really left, but
phone died. Definitely.
Oh, okay, fair enough. We'll see you DK soon, hopefully. But the New York Jets. Now, this would have to open things up finally for the Jets, right? Do the Jets now all of a sudden, almost by default, have to land into the playoffs because the Bills lose a marquee part of their offense, and the Bills have seemed like they're going in a different direction this offseason? So I see guys laughing, and tell me why.
Well, listen, on paper, if the Jets are healthy, this is definitely the best roster in the AFC East, and they should win the division if everybody stays healthy. It's a huge if, I know, and I do not think Buffalo is even the second best team in this division. I think
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree with that. I just think that we might be switching spots this week as far as being optimistic, Tom, because I don't know if we can put them there by default that they're going to make playoffs. I mean, you got to think about the drought that they've been on. So,
Oh my!
I
We
mean,
talk about the
Gotta
Buffalo
stay healthy.
Sabres in
That's a big
hockey,
thing.
and
Yeah.
the Jets have a
So,
longer one than that in
I
football.
I wouldn't say we're just in there. Like we have to like we talked about last week. We have to change that narrative. We have to win the games.
But
So
why does Buffalo make a move like this, though? Buffalo's a team that's been, a perennial AFC contender, a team that's been on just in the outside, looking in, of a deep run in the playoffs. And why move a guy? And you're trying to win, right?
I think
They
we
fell
just said
short
it.
3-4 years in a row, man.
But it's how bad Stephon Diggs is. They were so desperate to get rid of him. They got a second-round pick for next year, not even this year.
Yep.
And they're carrying a $31 million dead cap hit for him not to be
Where
on
do you
the team.
expect the Buffalo? Do you expect the Buffalo Bills to still be where they've usually been, or they take a big step back?
I think they'll be in the race. I don't know if they'll win the division though. But they're not going to be a bad team.
So then, based on what you're telling me, shouldn't then the Miami Dolphins, who were the next best team, shouldn't they be the favorites in the AFC East?
Yeah, I think on paper, like I said, the Jets have the better roster. But getting back to what Scooby said is about, the Jets still got to prove what they still got to prove it to everybody that they can be better than them. That's the big if, right? They got to stay healthy. Aaron Rodgers still has to prove a lot too.
Oh my goodness,
Right.
Aaron Rodgers.
He hasn't had a good season in 2 years because you got to go back.
He wasn't good the last year at Green Bay. Yeah,
right. So you got to go back to
Michaels
2022.
Alan Michaels, you know it better than anybody because Aaron Rodgers choked on national TV.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, sure did.
Right.
He was known for that,
Well,
Yeah,
he
so-
choked like some guys you've wrestled in a ring with that certainly couldn't keep up with your microphone skills.
But on paper, the Jets do have the better roster, if that's what we're going by.
no, and I fully agree with that. I think on rosters, if you're just comparing it before the season starts to see on paper, because I think everyone loves to, Jets on paper, defense, offense, special team, we got the best roster. But
But
how many times do we?
I say it all
How many
the time.
times do we look at the Chiefs and call them a better team than some of the other teams they're playing against because they get such good quarterback play? If we could get good quarterback play, of course we would be the best in that.
No, I just think there's so many interesting storylines here. The situation in Pittsburgh where they bring in the two quarterbacks. You have obviously what happens with Joe Burrow coming back healthy. You have Baltimore. How do they deal with their playoff shortcoming and Kansas City repeating. Can Aaron Rodgers be healthy? How does Miami bounce back after kind of their collapse in the second half? And then you've got some other teams like Houston we spoke about. And what about a team like Jacksonville that had a historic collapse? What about a team like the Colts? What about the Chargers with Horrible? I mean, to me, there's so many fascinating storylines here in the NFL. Before I get to Rob Morosco, one more thing on baseball. For the rest of you guys on football, is there anything else that was interesting this week before we obviously get ready for the draft in a few weeks? Anything else football for you guys that was interesting of note?
Yeah, me personally, I'll go ahead and say one real quick, man. I think we all know why Rashee Rice did what he did. I'm sure all y'all saw that in the Twitter group chat and about what he had on him. No matter which way you want to fold it, man. I mean, that just looks bad on the kid. I mean, I get that you make mistakes and stuff like that, but you're a really critical part, man, to a three-peat that the Chiefs are really looking forward to this year, and you did not help them out whatsoever. Whether that's, I mean, if you come back and you play and they don't suspend you, great, that's awesome. But in the offseason, you created a lot of drama and a lot of speculation that was very unneeded to this team, man.
Maybe he'll have some bad blood like a Taylor Swift song. Maybe Taylor will write a song about him in the bad blood.
Possibly,
This is time. I mean, Kansas City's already thin at wide receiver.
Yeah.
So you take him off that. I mean, think about who they got at wide receiver after Rashee Rice. I mean, it's
you're gonna have to put.
They got Marquise Brown.
You're gonna have, they got Hollywood. You're gonna have to put Kadarius Toney back in. That's what
the drop machine.
You're gonna have to put him back in.
Well, I mean,
that's they still got Mahomes, so it don't matter who they got. They could have.
Well, that's what Scooby said a couple minutes ago. You got the quarterback, so it don't matter. You got the quarterback. And you're fine with to win.
And that's not how it works for everybody. I just think that there's quarterbacks that are so good that you really can use that logic. They're going to be a lot better of a football team just because they have that good of a quarterback. That doesn't mean that, we got Tua, he's good, No,
But-
it's not the same. You know what I mean? You
I
got
mean,
Josh
Aaron used
Allen
to be
and
that guy.
Patrick Mahomes. No, Aaron is that guy. Aaron is that guy.
Used to be.
Yeah, used to
used to
be.
be.
We still have to see now.
Oh,
But-
I think that's the biggest question mark because Chris hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll hear more of this from the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals later this weekend. But Aaron Rodgers hasn't had 2 good years in a row because in 22, he didn't have a great year. Green Bay was really lucky to even be where they were the last game of the season. He played basically a snap with the Jets. So we don't know what he brings to the table. I think that's an excellent point. Those are the things we're going to talk a lot about next week. But Rob Maraska, is there 1 or 2 other things baseball you're watching? I'm going to put up one more time this contest card from Juan Soto before we get to closing thoughts here.
Yeah, the contest, of course. But real quick, I just wanted to mention the passing of Pat Zachary. He pitched for the Mets, and the big deal with him was he was one of the players who was traded by Cincinnati for Tom Seaver in 1977, guys.
Yeah.
But he was traded from – he was Rookie of the Year in 1976. Listen to this. He helped the Reds get to the World Series and sweep the Yankees. He won a game in the National League Championship Series. The Reds swept the Yankees in 4 games. The guy had one of the best rookie years of any pitcher of all time. Sparky Anderson, Reds manager, says he never saw anything like it. And then what happens to the guy? He gets traded to the Mets for Tom Seaver. And
well, I was
poor
reading
guy.
today, about him that he was pitching well 2 years later,
Yes.
and then he had an injury. He fell in the dugout or something, right? He fell.
Here's what happened. He made the All-Star team in 1978 for the Mets, a horrible Met team. He was 10-6 with the 3.33 ERA. What happened was he went into the dugout and he was mad after getting taken out of a game, and he kicked the dugout and he broke his foot.
That sounds like what I felt when Alan Michaels wasn't on TBW for a while.
Yeah, so that was it. So he ended up 41-46 for a terrible, terrible Mets
Yeah, I
team.
mean, he had hard luck. I think, what was he, 69 and 67 in his career? He had hard luck, didn't have a terrible career, but you obviously could never live up to that, being traded for a Hall of Famer. And, Mets luck. And yeah, he was a part of some bad teams, only 71. He died, and he was sick for a while. I read in the, in the paper today online, and yeah, tough, typical Mets, they, had a lot of those guys, right? Doug Flynn was a part of the trade, right? Didn't
Dan
amount to
Norman,
much.
yep. And Steve Henderson, who was okay.
Yeah, but they weren't like you were expecting top tier
Of
talent,
course.
quote unquote, top tier, and for our wrestling fans. And you didn't get that. You got guys that were marginal players. Pat Zachary was a marginal player. Doug Flynn was a marginal player. Steve Henderson may be a little more than a marginal player at best, but these guys, unfortunately, and
The worst trade ever for the Mets. That's
and
it.
Seaver obviously had great years, continued on, and the Mets wound up bringing him back, and that was the rest of the history for the team. And DK wanted to say, had to go, fellas, take it easy, go Preds, but go Preds, not tomorrow or today. Need you to win next week. When I told you against Pittsburgh, so I need you against Pittsburgh to win. I need you
Right,
to
not tomorrow.
I need you can get 1 point. If you want an overtime loss, I'll give you the overtime loss. But the Islanders need that win tomorrow. It's going to be a tough game. And also bet the house on Big T. So Big T, DK's got his bet on you. Now, are we doing a weigh-in before the 24th? Is that like the week before? How are we doing I've actually had people ask me, is there going to be a weigh-in like the week before? So we're doing a weigh-in?
Yes,
Okay, so we'll do the weigh-in. That'll be fun. And certainly, we also want to send our condolences to the family of Pat Zachary, tall guy, very tall guy. He was like 6'5", right, or something like that. He was a real big guy. Yeah, just that's unfortunate. 71, and again, Mets kind of the Mets luck. Like you said, Mets luck brings these guys in, and they don't have the success. I mean, even Lindor right now, Met fans were ready rip up the contract, but. We'll certainly see. We ran the gauntlet literally today on Sportzwire Radio. I want to just say it before we get to close notes. We talked about every single thing literally. I don't know what we didn't talk about. Maybe March Madness. If you have a bracket left, women's Final Four is out there. Caitlin Clark was still going strong as of today. I don't know if they went to the championship game. I didn't get a chance.
They won. Iowa won and South Carolina won. So.
Iowa, South Carolina. You got that. Thank you for that. We have the Final Four today.
It's gonna be
UConn's in it
fun.
locally. NBA is coming up. I'm definitely willing to work some NBA in a couple of weeks. So for the NBA guys, we'll certainly talk about that for a few minutes. And we worked in everything. We did baseball, we did football, new stadium stuff. We did a lot of NHL, wrestling at the beginning. We talked about competitive eating. We talked about Alan Michaels and TBW maybe one day again. Who knows? I don't want to say anything further because watch somebody that works for TBW see this and say, Tom, what do you know? And we're going to say, no comment. We know nothing about that because we do have 120 people watching us. But let's get to closing thoughts. I'm going to go with you first, Big T, because you've always got some hot takes and you might want to certainly continue to show why you're the dominant force in the world of eating. So I want to give you some closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, or say. It was a lot of fun and the people seem to like what we're doing right now.
Man, I'm definitely a fan of the weigh-in. I think as soon as me and Mikey hit the scale, it's going to make me the underdog, and I definitely like being the underdog.
You've watched him in the wrestling world. He's a big man. He's a big man, Alan Michaels. I've happened to watch him. He's a big man.
And a couple more things real quick on one of them. Another rest in peace, man. I'm sure you guys heard about the Vontae Davis accident that happened with his brother. That was very unfortunate, man. I actually watched a lot of Vontae Davis when I was younger. I wasn't ever a big Colts fan or anything like that, but I was always a big fan of defensive players. And Vontae was one of those people that always just kind of came up, whether he was playing against my team, another team, seeing highlights on him, whatever it was, man. I think his brother said that he thinks it had something to do with him being in a sauna, I guess, prior to his death. But that's a tragic news.
Absolutely. Condolences and prayers for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so sad. People. I tell you real quick, one of the worst things, and I know Rob Maraska has been on almost all of the shows in some form over the years, but one of my worst things that I have to do is talk about somebody's death. Even a couple days ago, we basically did a ceremony for a wrestler. Alan will appreciate this, that died at the age of 34 2 years ago. We did a ceremony for him and he died at 34. And then we did one last month. That was a guy who died at 44. That's really one of the saddest things is to talk about somebody, in the prime shape of their, career in life. And, they're not with us anymore. Life is definitely short, Big T. So anything else you want to add for us, my friend?
That's it, buddy. That's it.
Good stuff. I'm looking forward to more eating talk and sports talk with NFL, NBA. If you're an NBA guy, I'm going to definitely work in some NBA. I'm following that. There's some Knicks news out there, not too good. But Scooby Stoney, I'm going with you, my friend. And speaking of movies, I did see Godzilla vs. Kong last weekend. I plan to see Ghostbusters this weekend. Godzilla vs. Kong, I would say go see it, but see it if you can in IMAX or 3D. That would be my review. But certainly want to hear your reviews on closing thoughts and certainly rooting for you only to win one game against the Islanders for your Rangers. So I'm really hoping it's 1 out of 2 because if the Rangers win both those games, the Islanders ain't making the playoffs. Although knowing the way the Capitals and the Flyers and the Red Wings are, maybe they will, but I still digress on my point. Scooby, I'm giving you the floor. Any closing thoughts you want to share for us? Fire away.
Well, before I get into NFL a little bit, I will say good luck in your Islanders versus Rangers games because you will need them.
Absolutely. Oh, without no question. The Islanders' schedule is not
100%.
easy. We got Nashville today. We got Pittsburgh to end of the season. Even New Jersey's going to be tough. Devils are going to be motivated. They're going to want to knock the Islanders out of the playoffs. Devils beat the Islanders a couple weeks ago. My buddy Steve Sapper's team was at the game. The Islanders gave up 3 goals in 4 minutes in the second period. So, Islanders ain't going to have it easy.
Right. And to the NFL side of things, I will say, because we were talking about the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets a little bit.
Yes.
And I will say, I was being a little Debbie Downer earlier, but I'm always going to say that I'm going to double down from last week. I still got us to win the division, right? We just got to be healthy, okay? And to what Mikey said earlier, I really don't think that we're going to get any Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers quarterback play. But it's going to be a big improvement from Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, you know what I mean? I mean, exactly. You know what I mean? And I think being a defense that can win you games, all you need is a good offense. You don't need to have the best offense in the league. You need a good offense and a great defense if that's what you want your formula to be. And I think that's what they'll be. Be a great defense with a good offense. And I just want to say it was great coming on to the show, talking to everybody again.
It's awesome. I'm loving the shows. I got to be honest.
100%.
The viewership is up. Twitter last week, we got 300 viewers that watched the show. Instagram, we're doing the reels. They're getting hundreds of views. Facebook, we're getting hundreds of views. People like this new format. They like the formula. Sportswire, I think we had one of the best weeks Sportswire ever had. We had 2 soccer players who were doing rap music. We had on Tuesday's show, we have a clip with 2,700 views on them. We had the GTS IC and U.S. champion Rad Dad, Radley Belmont, Jimmy Controversy. I mean, we just had on Mustafa Khan, a UK wrestling legend. We've had so many great shows. Atomic Titan, I don't know how you feel about him these days. Alan Michaels, he was in the house once again. I mean, we've had some great shows of late, and the viewership is up. YouTube is up. We're up 630-something subscribers. Facebook, almost 800 followers. Instagram, we're up. We're up on Twitch. We've got new followers. Twitter, we got new followers. I mean, I think we're doing great, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got 600, and now you're getting up to 630, 650 quicker than you got to 600.
It took me like years to get to 300. Then I got to 400. From 500 to 600, I said it a couple weeks ago. Only took us 7 weeks. I already got to 630 something in 2.5 weeks. I mean, people like Sportswire. Because they know that Sportswire, but real quick, is the only place you get everything. We don't just do wrestling. We do soccer. We do football, baseball, basketball. We do competitive eating now. I mean, we do everything. This is the old, everybody know. No, real quick, there's people now that are doing podcasts and they're saying, well, we do a podcast now. But there's only one original. Like Coca-Cola is the original formula. There's only one Sportswire. There's only one Tom Bryce. Only one. There's no other competitors, all the imitators, God bless you. But there's only been one person that stood the test of time through over 5 years, and it's Sportswire. So that's why we're here, and you guys are a part of that. So, yes, I appreciate that. Thank you for, mentioning that, Scooby, because we have been doing great. Facebook, we're doing great. Instagram, I'm up to almost 1,500 followers. Twitter, new followers out there. The Friday shows are doing great on Twitter, and a lot of new fans out there. And thank you for saying that. So, great stuff, Scooby. We can follow you, Scooby Stoney, on Twitter. Triz City on Instagram as well, and TSF Takes on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Check these guys out and tag me in clips because I'll take care of you guys because I'm putting up the reels for you anyway. So how you like that? I'm giving you the reels, so you can put it up on the Instagram and we'll do that. But I want to go with you, Chris, next for closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share? I'm looking forward to your shows being in the rotation this weekend, and fire away, my friend.
Tom, thank you very much. Great show, guys, as always. Just getting ready for the NFL draft, with the show with Liftoff. We did our first mock draft just for the first round. We went through the first round. It was kind of cool. Obviously no trades, so it's not going to be exactly what it's going to be on. But I do expect a bunch of trades going to happen, especially in the top, like between 5 and 10. I see a couple of moves there, to move and grab another quarterback. But it should be interesting, man. There's a lot of moves going to be happening. Curious what the Jets are going to do at 10. Are they going to trade down? Are they going to stay there? Are they going to draft Bowers, a tackle, a receiver? So really looking forward to what they do. And then we're talking rivals. We're going to get into the Yankees and Red Sox start. Both teams doing really well. I think the Red Sox,
we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Right?
Good starts.
But a bad injury for them tonight. I think Trevor Story hurt his shoulder again, so that might have hurt them a little bit. But we'll see. Anyway, where you can follow me, CP7NY, on Twitter, at Talking Rivals, at Liftoff Jets.
He's on Threads as well. You can check him out there as well, CP7NY, and follow him. And he's been an anchor for the program, and he's a Hall of Famer also, by the way. So I want to make sure we mention that he's in the Hall of Famers alongside Patrick Trotty and the Talking Rivals. So we want to make sure that we plug that, and I can't wait to hear the shows and play the clips, because the clips also do really good on Twitter as well. The clips, people like the clips. And speaking of clips, Rob Maraska, going with you for your closing thoughts before we close it out with Alan Michaels, Mr. Hot Takes himself. But Rob Maraska, I'm giving you the floor, giving you some closing thoughts, and anything else you want to plug, share, or say, floor is yours.
Another great show, guys. Enjoyed it. Having a lot of fun with you guys. It's excellent. Just the contest, Juan Soto opening day Top to Now card. Check me out on X at R Maraska and Facebook at Rob Maraska, and we'll let you know next week who wins the card.
Looking forward to that. Obviously, we'll announce that here sometime between 11 and 11:15 Eastern time. So that seems to be the time. So we're looking forward to that card. And who knows? Maybe now, can one of these guys technically win it?
No.
Oh,
They can't
Like,
technically-
leave it for a viewer. Leave it for a viewer.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah,
I
I
had
did
to.
retweet it though. I did retweet it.
I did too.
Okay, all right. I had to
No,
ask.
that's
I didn't
cool,
know what
guys.
the rules.
Thanks.
I didn't know what the rules would be, but okay, we'll find out. Hopefully,
Yeah,
it's-
we do for listeners, and sometimes, if I get an extra card that someone is interested in, I get it to them. So
Well, you never know. Some of the guys here might want that, but good stuff. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Rob, and thank you for the contest. I will post a clip of that as well in the morning so people can find out more about that. I'm going to go last because I want to try to change lanes here. I want to try to stay trendy. And Alan Michaels, also want to remind you, if you are around and you are bored, James Taylor is back on Sportswire after night 1 of WrestleMania. Who knows what he'll have to say, but maybe you're trying to stay under the radar when it comes to a James Taylor show on Sportswire. So maybe I'll say don't come on live, but I will say maybe you want to come alive here with some closing thoughts and tell us, what else is on your mind. And I'm going to try to change lanes and give you the floor, and certainly give us an Armageddon like closing thoughts here to mention a friend of ours, and Shane Davidson.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was a great show. I always have a lot of fun coming on here.
It's fun.
I was a little bit late today. I have been feeling the greatest past.
I hope you feel
days.
better. I hope you feel better. Hopefully
I
you feel.
appreciate it. But TSF's gearing up to actually launch our podcast that we'll be doing every Saturday.
Oh, I love that.
Not this Saturday though, because WrestleMania.
Oh, you can't do a podcast on a Saturday.
Can't do a podcast on WrestleMania. You
No.
cannot. I'm personally excited for WrestleMania.
Me too.
Huge wrestling fan. It's
You are a wrestler, quote unquote. Now your name's Alan Michaels. You are a wrestler
Yeah.
now.
it's gearing up to be one of the greatest WrestleManias in a while. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I've been posting clips every other day on TikTok, and Instagram and YouTube.
And Instagram, I've been posting clips on Instagram here too. So
I appreciate it. It's been a grind, but I think we're here for the long run.
Oh, I meant to that. You definitely are here for the long run. And, we had 30,000 views on TikTok. How about that? I mean, that shows you that, we're definitely here. People definitely like the job that we're doing on Sportswire Radio. And, you could certainly see, look at the clips we have. I mean, you have a bunch of all the quarterbacks from 1985 and they've been in the first one. That was a fun one and a lot of good stuff. And I want people to follow the TSF Takes on all platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure you support them. And Alan Michaels is definitely going to be keeping an eye open when it comes to WrestleMania night 1 and 2. And who knows, maybe we'll get you back on the show in a wrestling capacity sometime, because after all, we do own a company now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. No comment though. No comment.
It's crazy though. Who's not a first round quarterback?
What was that?
Who's not a first round quarterback? Kirk Cousins wasn't the first round quarterback. I'm just gonna leave that as it is.
He wasn't?
He was not. No,
he's like a
Kirk
fourth
Cousins was
rounder.
not. Like where he belongs. Yeah, where he belongs.
You know what? You must have had some, grudge against him for fantasy, right?
No,
I
I
just
like
don't like
Kirk
him.
Cousins.
I
He
just
hates
don't
Kirk
like
Cousins.
the dude.
Tom Brady wasn't a
Statistically,
first
he's
round.
good, though. Statistically, his career's been good. I mean, the record,
Yeah.
I know it's.
I've seen him line up behind the guard on 3 separate occasions.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that coming up, because a lot of stuff I had about NFL draft coverage again, TSF Takes, and that podcast that'll be next Saturday. And will that be live or pre-recorded?
It will be live
Ooh,
on
you
Twitch.
better make
We have
sure-
a Twitch. Yeah.
Well, you better make sure that I know about that, because I want to watch that show. So Saturday night, you know what? I'm actually not live on Sportswire next Saturday, so I want to make sure I'm not. Or I want to go live after your show. So you tell me what time it is, and I'll make sure that I'm free to listen to that. So
Gotcha. It'll be 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
excellent, because I usually don't go live at 9 on Saturday, so that's a good time. So I'm going to be listening to you guys there. So good deal. Looking forward to all all about here. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I want to thank Randy Dillon, who is here with us. TBK, obviously, Randy Dillon and TBK, also Hall of Famers. Rob Maraska, also a Hall of Famer. Alan Michaels is actually a Hall of Famer in a wrestling capacity. And something tells me Big T and Scooby Stoney, not too far from now, going to be joining these guys in the Hall of Fame, because after all, they have a 30,000 view clip on TikTok, so they have to be in the Hall of Fame soon enough. But my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm not in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, but I'm actually in the Enterprise and Amplified Wrestling's Hall of Fame. And I felt Enterprise and Amplified tonight because we spoke everything literally in the world of sports, with the exception of maybe the NBA, but we'll change that very soon next week. But if you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regular scheduled programming. But if you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and our home radio station, thank you so much for your support. Please support the Liftoff Jets, Talking Rivals, TSF Takes, our Maraska's Contest, Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat, TBK's Be More Talkative Podcast. And until then, enjoy WrestleMania. I'll be on the live tomorrow and today with James Taylor and Xavier Thorne. So I'm sure it's going to be just as lively on Sportswire Radio as it will be. I know you're laughing because you know who I'm talking about. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one global station that is Sportswire Radio, where all sports matter.